Intelligently Insulting Podcast, episode number 7. Justin McGrath. To the left is Chase Tucker, and in the middle is Aaron Trammell with his nice little blues he had. He's been rocking. He's had a little self-conscious about that lately. Please be kind. Let's get this shit underway. What's going on, you motherfuckers?
Same old.
Same old, same old.
I want to intelligently insult something.
There you go. Well, you came to the right place, hopefully.
Hopefully, we'll see.
Hopefully. This could be total shit. It usually is
This
total
could be
shit.
total
The total
shit.
8 viewers who watch this, I'm sure it's probably me clicking
Are we
on
still
it 8
up to-
times. But
Do you insult yourself in the process?
I
of,
should start leaving comments, like baitfish comments, like, hey, fuck you, that sucks. Nobody should ever fucking say anything about women's rights. And then people are like, well, what'd he say? And we never talked about it.
I think Justin's like a caricature of like every extreme opinion people don't like.
Probably.
Like,
the personification.
or at least that's the persona you take on this podcast.
The
Whoa,
guy.
I'm acting?
You tell me.
I don't know. I try not to. But when the camera does hit me, I feel like I need to embellish things.
Yeah, I think you embellish things a little bit. Or at least I hope so, with at least a couple things you've said.
Well, it's got to be somewhat. It's got to be entertaining.
Well, it doesn't have to be, but a lot of times I find myself just playing devil's advocate, trying to piss somebody off.
Yeah?
It's usually
I know for a fact you're really good at that. So
I'm sorry, but I'm not. We're gonna do it anyway. You got Ray-Bans now?
I've had these.
Ooh, $200 pair of glasses.
Yeah.
these are Ray-Bans.
Jesus.
These are getting old. I need to get new lenses in these.
These are Nauticas.
Well, that's still a really good brand, right?
Yeah, it's expensive.
Hmm.
Fashionable. I had my boss the other day when I was at work. I had to go in for my final review. I put on my glasses and he said I look very studious. I
Studious.
was like, that's one word I've never heard describe myself.
Me either.
Studious.
No, all the teachers took you aside and said, Justin, you're really studious.
You're really studious. You're a fucking asshole.
You're studious of being an asshole.
Please stop laughing at Schindler's List. Can we please keep going? I'm gonna have to kick you out.
Wasn't there a movie or something? I'm not going to mention the teacher's name.
Yeah, it was
obviously.
Schindler's List when I was in.
They pushed wheelchairs.
Yeah,
and
they
down
pushed
the
the.
Yeah.
They put the Jew on top
Yeah,
of the thing.
they always had to warn the class.
Well, the motherfucker said, hey, if anybody laughs when the part comes up, I'm going to pause it and say, don't laugh. And then when it happens, if you laugh, you get kicked out. And I'm like, dude, you just set me up for failure. Now I'm just going to think it's funny. And then, sure as shit, there's this old man, which is not funny. There's nothing funny about it other than the fucking horrible acting was portrayed by the old man in the wheelchair. The Nazi comes in, grabs him, and he's like, puts him on the ledge, and just dumps him, and this fake ass fucking total dummy shot of it fall and just smacks the ground. And I started laughing. I got kicked out of class. And then I got kicked out of class again when I was in like elementary school because we were talking about Asian people, and she was trying to just explain without being too racial, like the features that describe like Asian people in general. And I was like, oh,
How
like
would you
this.
do that
And I got
without
kicked
being
out.
funny.
Yeah.
How would you do that seriously?
And she said that I was being racist.
Asian people have squinty eyes and they're short and like, how do you not sound racist?
That's being an observationalist.
What was the term you came up with? Bullyism. Let's discuss bullyism.
Constructive bullyism?
This wasn't on a podcast. He came
No,
over.
this
Okay.
was yesterday. Me and Chase were talking.
I already
yesterday.
got an idea of it, and I actually think I could possibly agree with that one.
Well, don't knock it till you try it. It was very well crafted, I think.
All right,
The
we'll
lead
see.
up
I
argument
don't know
to
about that, but it
The-
makes sense. a
the
little
lead
bit.
up argument to constructive bullyism all started when I said everything kind of started getting weird in this country in particular, with like things being like super politicized and like, there's no first place, everybody gets a trophy and all this other crazy shit. I said the first thing I realized, or I remember actually like, wow, that's weird, was the anti-bully thing, like in schools.
Okay.
When and then me and Chase were talking about, well, you get in trouble in school now just for like busting your friend's balls. Like I could look at Aaron and like start busting his balls about something, and then all of a sudden it turns into a big thing because I hurt your feelings, and you tell the teacher, and now we're fucked. Instead, back in the day when we were in elementary school, I remember if I told the teacher that somebody hurt my feelings, I would call the tattletale. Stop being a fucking tattletale. And I think that kind of helped craft a lot of shit. Now you could go the dark route and be like, well, bullyism also led fucking Columbine to happen, but I mean that's kind of a one in a million shot if you really think about it. I mean it's not that common for a school shooting to happen as far as the amount of people and the amount of psychos that are potentially unlocked. I mean it's actually kind of low.
Have you ever read the book Columbine by
I
have.
Dave Cullen?
I watched that Michael Moore documentary.
Or what was the
I think it
other?
was David Cullen. Can't remember.
What was the other book that was really good? It was the first time my first light, or what was it? The first time I believed, maybe it was about a guy who was married to one of the teachers
Oh, really?
in the school and just kind of followed his life after that. It was kind of
Well, he
fucked up.
made the argument that those two guys, just as a side note about this, is that those two guys weren't bullied. They were psychopaths, and they more often than not were the bullies and were, especially if you read anything Eric Harris wrote about himself. He had this messiah complex, and he wanted to thin the herd.
Yeah, you tend to see that a lot. It's kind of hard to pinpoint stuff like that onto
Well,
like
basically a
what.
borderline Nazi.
I mean,
And all the people he seemed to target in the schools weren't really like people you'd think were bullying him. Like he targeted a chick and said that, where's your God now? And he killed her because, I mean, it sounds to me like unless you're making a really fucking cruel joke that he targeted her over, being religious.
right.
I don't know if you're
I mean-
sacrificing her to Satan or.
I think
Oh.
there definitely needed to be like a better outlet for like handling bullying, but like fucking everything right now, it's really fucking turned to an extreme.
I think you should be allowed to fucking fight in school.
I could
I feel
well,
like that-
I don't think you should be allowed to fight. I think that they should maybe not make it that big of a deal out of it if someone gets into a fist fight.
Or I feel like they should have some kind of.
I think the no tolerance policy is bullshit.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
somebody hits, if a kid gets hit by somebody else, him fighting back is self-defense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the line
And
gets
both of
the
them get in
line gets
trouble,
blurry.
seriously?
The line gets blurry when you fight back and then you take it to the next level. I mean, you are a kid. We are talking about
Or-
kids here.
The line gets blurry when the kid, like, if a kid's like trying to get you to hit him. I mean, how many times did you
Yeah,
have that
yeah,
happen
that
where they're
happens a
saying
lot.
like the most fucked up shit to you because they know, like,
Yeah, they're
If
trying
he
to get
hits
you,
me-
baby.
he's fucked.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I think that what should be able to happen, and I talked to an old German guy I used to work with, and he said that's how they handled it back when he was a kid in Germany.
With the Jews.
Yeah, with the Jews, you gassed the motherfucker.
This is how we handled things when I was growing
He
up.
said when he was in like middle school and like even into high school, he said like if you end up getting into an altercation with somebody, instead of like having a straight bare knuckle fist fight, which is debatable whether bare knuckle or gloves is better, but you can both set up a fight in the gym class because where he was at, they taught boxing as an elective at schools. And you could get the whole school together after school if they wanted to. They even kind of sold tickets. We're like, okay, this guy and this guy are going to fucking settle their differences, and there's going to be a referee, and shit gets fucked up. They break it up tight. Like, kinda like a sport.
I feel like I'd be picking fights at that point.
I
though,
think
'cause
you
that
would,
sounds
too.
like way too much fun.
I don't know, but they said that's how they did it.
Can you imagine if something like that happened in the United States right now?
Oh
What
my
would
god,
happen?
it'd fucking be a total mental.
It would. Anderson Cooper would be there with his black shirt, so he'd show how terrible it is, and be like, "Do you think this is right?"
No, they'd show up with bike locks and beat the fuck out of everybody and claim it's too violent.
This is yeah.
Because that's what we do in this country. We're hypocritical
People
as
that
you can
disagree with-
possibly be.
People that disagree with me is an act of violence, so I'm gonna hit them with a bike.
Yeah,
The
you're
left,
threatening my way of life, so I will threaten your.
the left,
your actual
the American left have lost their minds completely.
I think everybody in this country. Is
I'm
lost
mostly
their minds.
a left person. If you took
I think-
all my shit and
Do you think
put
that
it on there.
because I was trying to think about this one day because I get way more irritated with the left most times than I do with the right, and I feel like partially it's like the right's radical views have been well established for a long time, and it's
Yeah.
kind of this we're desensitized to it at this point. Like, yeah, we get it, like
yeah,
you know, and then a lot of stuff going on with the left is kind of emerging over the past 10 years or so. But do you also think that it's like you said, you find yourself more predominantly left, that like it bothers you more because you're
Yeah.
kind of associated with it, so it's like
well,
y-
because
you know, 'cause
yeah,
it's like-
exactly.
it's repping you in some sort of way,
Yeah.
so you get clumped with these idiots.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, liberal used to mean you supported individual rights and freedom of thought and speech, and they don't support any of those things.
Yeah.
If you don't have any of those rights, especially if you're a white male, you have zero rights.
Yeah.
According to them, you because of your group that you're in, you're guilty of possessing privilege, and you don't have a right to say anything.
Well, I think it's crazy on like just the way that, say, if you're gonna support black rights, like Black Lives Matter, say you're gonna go towards that route, or you're gonna like the NAACP. Anything that the NAACP says that is going to, in their eyes, positively affect getting rid of racism. Even if you don't agree with it 100%, if you disagree with a certain part of it,
You're a racist.
you're a racist.
Yeah.
And with that kind of mentality, I think that branched off to a whole bunch of different aspects of like other cultures
Yeah.
and shit of other
Yeah,
people.
if you're not with us, you're with them mentality came from the right normally, but now
Yeah.
it's the other way. The right isn't like that anymore. It's the other way
No.
around most of the time.
There's a lot of people on the right, and the whole big fucking argument when Obama was going on was fucking the legalization of marijuana.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people on the right that don't give a fuck. That's not even a real topic anymore.
That's kind of relates to something I was trying to address a while back. I was trying to address modern feminism, and I was trying to suggest that it's actually becoming more in line with like classic right wing thinking,
Mhm.
because like it's not even about equality. It's
We
just,
don't support gender roles unless you're a male. Then you have gender roles.
It's just like it's just about like it's not equality. It's about like just better, and then like just bullshit radical idealism. But like I was reading an argument on custody, and predominantly women, like these modern feminists, still agree that women should predominantly get custody over the man. That the child support laws are like totally in line and all this stuff, which is totally bullshit if like you actually think about like the foundation of what like actual feminism would be,
Mhm.
is because you are then you're just instigating the fact that like men should be making money, women should be at home nurturing their child.
If
That's not feminism.
If
That
women are like the majority of college graduates now, and they're starting to break into all these different career fields, and they win all the custody battles. Where's this male patriarchy?
well,
I don't see it.
well, and it's so
What, in the
bullshit.
military? That's about the only thing I can think of.
It's so bullshit to call yourself a feminist and talk about the patriarchy, but then say that like child support is a good thing, because that's totally fucking counterintuitive to you
Yeah.
fighting the patriarchy. You're supporting the patriarchy,
Yeah.
dumbass.
The matriarchy.
Yeah, it's
That's what I think. I think Dr. Peterson is 100% right when he says they want to be victims at the same time they want to be superior. Like they want to be in charge, but still hold the victim card. It's like,
Well,
well,
without the
that- it
victim
doesn't
card,
work
you're
that
just
way.
normal.
You know, the
right?
best.
Without the victim, you become just normal.
Well, that's
And when
something-
you're just normal, nobody gives a fuck about your cause.
no, and that's something exactly.
You can't have it both ways.
It's exactly it. You're exactly right about that.
The best thing I've heard him say, without a doubt, and I totally fucking agree with it, and I never thought about the argument in this way, was when he was addressing these groups trying to get this attention and being victimized, is, you know, and he brought it up in the manner of talking about, like, okay, we had the civil rights movement. You know, there was a group of people that were obviously like way past oppressed. I mean, you know, they're being completely discriminated against, and then there's women's rights, and then after that, you know, gay rights, and it's coming to a point where like it'll be like, well, I was a victim too. I was a victim too, and he says, he's like, well, if you look at anything, at anyone at some point in their life or their family's life, or definitely within their lineage, because of the way human history is, everyone's a victim. Everyone is a victim
Everyone's
of
always-
something.
Every group has been a victim at some point.
Yeah,
you know?
everyone is a victim at some point. How? What do you want?
Like what
What is everyone supposed to do about it if everyone's been victimized at some point?
Why can't the Romans pay me the Roman privilege because they took over the Celtic peoples and the Saxon peoples? Where's my reparations for from
Oh,
Roman
it
privilege?
happened.
Where's my reparations from Britain for
Well, just like
colonizing fucking
Native
Ireland?
Americans and,
Well,
and Irish,
and
yeah.
Irish and Scots.
No,
and-
just like when you listen to Wrath of the Khans, one of the very first things he says, and the reason he decided to make Wrath of the Khans, it happened so long ago that you are no longer
Feeling the pain.
emotionally invested in any of the people, regardless if they were or weren't your ancestors. Now you start talking about something like slavery, where people still fucking kind of can connect the dots to that. Martin Luther King was televised.
No,
You're never getting away from that. There's video of that shit.
No, see, I get
Like,
I get that
Hmm.
in some ways, and that's where like I kind of get fuzzy when you talk about black minorities, because like if we bring up like we brought up like historic oppression with black people, it's a little bit different because it wasn't that fucking long ago.
No,
But still, then at the same time, I just
but
like
Arabs,
intuitively, it doesn't feel like that's the way it should be
the
handled.
Muslim world. I can't remember the dates, but obviously probably before. I'm gonna assume before the Mongols destroyed the Muslim world, but like they ran a slave trade 2 or 3 times bigger than the trans-African slave trade, and it was way more brutal. We're talking medieval ages, right? So the brutality was incredible. Men, women, and children were all slaves, obviously, and I'm not trying to take away anything from what African Americans suffered and endured under slavery, but like at what point do you draw the what amount of time does it become acceptable to say we still suffer from oppression when these past peoples no longer do? Like,
if you
at
want to
what
get
point?
really fucked up about it, wouldn't it be safe to say that slavery that happened from Africa and we brought people over was negative? Okay, that was a horrible time for them, but as part of a positive effect that happened long term now, they're kind of in a better off place. They have access to fucking free schools. They have access, especially with as
Let's
much
talk
of the
about
shit that they're pushing for right now.
That's a really roundabout way to getting to a point, but
I mean,
that's how Carlin opened up Wrath of the Khans. Let's talk about the benefits of the Third Reich, not the
Right.
bad stuff. Let's just ignore
Yeah.
well,
that.
I mean, it kind of propelled them forward.
Industrialization,
I mean, Africa-
rocket engineering,
yeah.
Africa right now is still kind of
space travel.
Africa right now is still pretty primal,
Yeah.
and
I
that
think
gave the
I-
opportunity to these people that are alive in here right now who are no longer slaves. Most people alive right now have never dealt with slavery. Racism, possibly, yes, of course, but slavery, no.
But do you?
Unit 571 in Japan, we discovered all these medical things because they tortured people and
Now, just to counter that,
I
do
mean,
you
come on.
do you think in any way because you see it in certain places specifically, like Africa, the Middle East. Do you think that they may, or at least a portion of it could be credited to this, that they are so far behind because they have just been so historically butt fucked through
I
colonization
would
and
say
so.
so.
I mean,
yeah.
look, Africa's the best example. I mean, Africa has been just history raped forever.
History. There's a
The Muslims and the Chinese. Well, the Chinese got history raped
Just-
too, but they're doing really
They
fucking well.
bounced back, man.
Yeah, but they arguably they were hit really, really, really fucking hard, if not harder than the Muslims during the Genghis
the-
Khan raid.
The
Well,
Chinese,
you know-
They were actually 100% taken over, and it wasn't until centuries later that they regained any fucking source of what they had. They had to rebuild.
Can you name another civilization though that like has always been a major center of civilization other than China? They've always been. All of human history. Like
Yeah.
everybody else has risen and fallen over time, and obviously Europe has maintained a steady. Well, I don't know how long they're gonna last now, but like America is kind of at its height, I would say. You know, but
Yeah.
like China is always everybody's like China's emerging as a world power.
China's-
China's always been.
China's done
A
it
force.
completely different than any other civilization, though.
Russia never really fell either, though.
China, for
You
the
know,
majority of its history, I'd say it got a little bit different with the trading routes when Britain started colonizing and stuff. But for the most part, throughout Chinese history, they have avoided. They haven't done any expansion. No conquering efforts. Which, how many other civilizations can make that claim? Two, they stayed pretty solitary for thousands of years, and they remained pretty self-sufficient through most of their history. No other civilization's done that, and I think that could be part of why they're.
I think it's just it's a testament to the efficiency of Chinese bureaucracy and government, which was
That could be it too.
modern in comparison to all other civilizations for hundreds
No,
of
that's
years.
definitely true. They were definitely a modern civilization before we really had any.
But I think their monarchy was their downfall because it was the whims of the emperor who dictated policy, right? I mean, at one point, the Chinese had
Yeah, because
treasure ships.
that's how they opened up their trade routes. It was through fucking emperor or whatever.
dictation, and they had treasure ships that were 3 or 4 times the size of European galleons a couple hundred years before Europe had ships like that. If the Chinese wanted to, they could have. There's a theory that they not before the Vikings, but they landed in America at some point, and if they had that capability, they could have been the colonizers before Europe did.
Yeah.
But when the emperor dies and the next emperor is like, we're not doing this, and scraps it all and says we're going to focus on whatever.
When I think of Africa, I see a continent that's just been butt fucked. Like, have you ever read about the way Britain did its colonization efforts, like purposely drawing borders through like tribal lines and stuff
Mhm.
to split up, like
Yeah, you were
to start
explaining that to
coups and stuff, it for like resource gain. Like Africa didn't really have a good time.
No.
And it was India did it too, and then one of you guys said the Chinese went there. I'm not sure if the Chinese went there, but I'm sure they
I
did.
don't know if the Chinese went to
That-
Africa.
I know, like when you look at like their conflicts with the Middle East, which is another area where I'd say they pretty consistently been butt fucked through numerous historic events.
They were a world power and a height
Yeah,
for
they
thousands of years,
Yeah.
until the Mongols, and then they haven't really recovered since then.
no, because then they had to deal with
Well,
the
what the
Crusades,
Mongols
and
did
then they had
that-
to deal with colonization.
They had to deal with the Crusades and the Mongols at the same time.
Well, what the
Yeah.
Mongols did that fucked everything up for them was after they went in, the Mongols killed everybody that was of any importance. Took centuries and centuries of fucking inked down, written
They
fucking
destroyed it
tomes
all.
and shit and just threw it in the fucking river. They said that the river ran black with ink.
The Baghdad.
Holy shit.
Baghdad was the center of education and higher learning in the world at that time.
Yeah.
And they destroyed Baghdad. They leveled it. And I don't think they reached the population levels that they had at the time for like 300 or 400 years later or something, and then obviously the bubonic plague hit everybody in the world later.
Yep.
You know,
Killed 3% of
but the difference is that Europe didn't get butt fucked by the Mongols.
Right.
Like they got hit by the by the plague, but then they didn't get hit by the Mongols just before, so they didn't have like that 1-2.
No,
punch
at most, I mean, they got hit by the Romans, but that got kind of snuffed out by the Anglo-Saxons. Like nothing ever like totally took over Eastern Europe like any other part of the world like that during that time.
So I mean, yeah, and then Europe had the Protestant Reformation, and then had the Renaissance, and that kind of developed what we know as Europe today. And they kind of just they cranked up the technological development way faster once they hit the Renaissance, and then the Industrial Revolution just pushed it even faster, and it's like mind-numbingly fast now. I mean, every year there's a new computer that's 50 times better than the previous one, and it's pretty freaky.
Can I help you?
What do you gotta say about that?
About what?
Nothing.
About computers?
No.
That's what he was talking about. Industrial Revolution and computers.
What do you gotta say about computers?
What do I have to say about computers? They're going to control us all.
Yeah.
AI is going to get out of hand. On that last podcast, we were talking about the pros and cons of like a self-driving vehicle. Like,
Yeah.
how cool would it be, really, to have a self-driving vehicle? And then you think about it. Okay, so the speeds can be enhanced. You can go a lot faster because everything's going to be on a single grid. So you can, as long as the car in front of you has the capability of going as fast, you should be able to go at fucking 80, 90 miles an hour on the road. Now, it gets fucked up because there will be no more allowability of being spontaneous. Like, oh, I think I'm driving and I want to stop at Myers right now. You have to check to make sure, because it's a self-driving car, that there's parking availability at Myers at this point in time, because you're going to pull in and they got to have a place to park on the grid. And some people are going to be real shitty, and I'm old and I want to be parked up at the fucking front and handicapped. Well, now you got to wait even longer, and availability, I mean, that's a huge con for me. That fucking sucks.
See, maybe this is the sci-fi nerd in me, but I'd rather have mass-produced flying vehicles and transport before self-driving.
Well,
vehicles.
I think you could get to flying vehicles, but you're not gonna get.
Which
flying
I don't
vehicles.
see the benefit in it. That's just the.
You just want to be able to look down. And, as a human race, look what we've conquered. Air, land, sea. We can do it all in one vessel now. Yeah, your own personal fucking car takes you to Paris from Michigan.
Dude, if
That'd be
we
pretty dope. You have a motorhome that can fly across the fucking Atlantic Ocean. That'd be pretty wicked.
if Elon Musk pulled it off, and in actuality, in 30 years, there was a colonization mission to Mars, I'd sign up for it.
Is there anything
That's a
that
suicide mission.
Is there anything that guy doesn't do, man? He does everything.
I know.
He's like, let's just push. He's like, I'm gonna shove humanity into the future as fast as I can.
I know. Everyone really praises him and stuff.
Was he in college, just sitting around like we are, drinking, and they're like,
No,
"This is
I
bull-"
think,
He's like, I'm gonna watch it. And, like,
I
on a
think he
bet,
left college early and started working for IBM or something like that.
He's like, I'll drop out, and in 10 years, I'll push the whole fucking human race forward 100 years.
Everyone praises
On a
him a
bet.
lot, but I have like this inkling feeling that he's like deranged. And it-
Psychotic.
Yeah, and it probably doesn't help because the way he looks kind of creeps me out.
I think
A
to
little
do
bit.
everything he does, he probably has to be a little bit crazy, right?
No, I'm not saying
That's
like
a lot of shit.
crazy, like wacky. I'm saying like I get this weird feeling that he might be deranged. Like there's something fucked up going on.
Is he
Not
like
very good
a
for
Bond
humanity.
villain deranged? Is what you mean? Like he's
Maybe.
developing all this
Yeah,
stuff.
kind of.
Ivan controls the entire world.
Yeah, like I kind of get those feelings.
Drive my self-driving cars. And he'll hold the whole. You said something like that. Some psycho will hold the whole world hostage and say, "I don't even have to kill you. I'll just make everybody stop and then move."
Yeah, imagine hacking the whole fucking grid and just be like, okay, today everybody's going to.
You're gonna drive in reverse.
Everybody's going to Woodward Avenue in the entire country of the United States. Boop. Can't get out of your vehicle. Everybody's going 90 miles an hour. And then eventually everybody is so fucked you can't go to work, you can't do shit. Everybody's going to Woodward because that's now being a fucking cyber
There'd be
hacker.
traffic from Detroit all the way, probably in a 100
Oh,
mile
could you
radius.
imagine being on Woodward and then your car stops? You know, what the fuck? And then just.
Everybody starts going.
You're fucked. What a pain in the fucking ass.
You're
That would be the
fucked.
worst traffic jam ever. You'd have to have people from NASA trying to fix the fucking grid. I don't know how fucking well the self-driving cars can go in reverse yet either. So you gotta hope to God they
They'd have to
programmed it
rope
well.
off little areas for helicopters to pick people up and fly them somewhere
Yeah,
else.
and then you bring
They abandon all the
jobs back to
cars.
people that have their pilot's license.
They abandon all the fucking cars right there.
What a shitty scenario that would be. Or you just change the grid and tell everybody to drive into the fucking ocean.
Yeah, if somebody's really psychotic, they're like, everybody goes going to go 150 miles an hour directly into the other side of traffic.
Yeah. I mean, there's just a lot. You're putting your life in some serious fucking faith when you try to.
Now, would you have
Talk
the
about
option
that.
to not have a self-driving
No,
car?
I don't think you can.
Could you be the asshole that's
I
like,
don't
I'm
think you can.
driving myself?
I don't think you can, dude. That would fuck the whole system up.
Because I'd be that guy.
Not to mention, oh, dude, the brakes on a vehicle that's constantly going 95 miles per hour.
Have to be really good.
Ooh, because what if I'm just like, fuck it, I'm walking in the middle of the road. You'd have to stop literally on a fucking dime. You know, little Johnny out there rolls his fucking ball in the road because we haven't fixed that problem yet. Fucking goes out and grabs it, gets
No,
creamed.
by then we'll have it fixed. No children will play outside because it's too dangerous, you know?
Well, we're
At
already
the rate we're
working
going.
towards that.
Yeah, no
Fuck.
balls.
We were working towards that in the 90s because of fucking Ted Bundy and shit gonna come rape you.
Ted.
Well, there's the Oakland County killer, too. Remember, you ever heard about that fuck?
No.
The Oakland County serial killer?
No.
Someone
This
just
guy
brought
was a
that up.
fucking psycho. He was running around capturing little kids and shit, and he'd fucking fillet them up and kill them and leave them on the sidewalks and shit. People were like, what the fuck's going on? And then it all came to a close when some family got on the news and was like, we haven't seen our little son in, fucking a week or whatever. And when he gets
How
home...
the fuck would you wait a week?
Well, no, they had like investigations going to try
Man,
to
it's
fucking
been
catch
it's
him.
been like 7 days.
No, they got a hold
Where's
of him
Junior
right away.
been all this
They
time?
got a hold of him right away. They weren't retarded, but they couldn't find the guy. But the creepy part was they got on the news and started talking about it and
Hand me
said
that. I'm gonna fill
when
it
he
too.
gets back,
Oh.
we're gonna get him his favorite meal,
You have a paper
which is
towel?
Kentucky Fried Chicken. And then when
I
they
think
found
it's
him,
outside.
they cut him open and there was KFC in his stomach.
Was KFC in the dude's stomach
in
or the
the, in the little kid's stomach because the family went on the news and said when we find him and we bring him home safely, we're gonna give him his favorite food, which is KFC. They found him the next fucking day, and the autopsy report said that he had KFC in his stomach.
He had KFC.
Yeah.
I didn't. I was like, yeah, I'll just take the whole bottle over here.
No, I don't have paper towel. I use it. I think it's fine.
Cheers.
Fucking
What are you drinking?
coffee, dude. Dunkin' Donuts.
You drink coffee all day long.
You bet your fucking sweet ass I do.
I used to, but now I'm getting up at like 5 to go walk and try to be active. And not
I literally don't drink coffee.
No, you drink tea.
Yeah, I drink tea.
You chose the hipster alternative path to coffee.
I don't drink tea like even every day though.
That one post on Facebook said, "Bring me all the tea in China, please."
That's Van Morrison.
That's what you wrote.
Jesus.
Bring me all of the tea.
What a greedy fuck.
Yeah, God.
What a way to paraphrase like a really great lyric.
Let the Chinese have some tea, Aaron. Damn.
You know, who's paying for all this tea?
You can't have that much tea. Where are you
Is
gonna
this
put it all?
is this a tax dollar payers debate?
Yeah. Are you gonna have a GoFundMe page? Bring me all of the tea.
As a working American citizen, I want
That's
to be
something really
reimbursed.
funny to see sometimes is how fucking audacious some people can be and
Yeah.
with like
I got fired, and so give me a GoFundMe page.
holy
Yeah,
shit, it's
yeah,
almost
that's fucked up.
embarrassing. Like, are you the center of your universe? Like,
Yeah, that is fucked up. I got fired.
Oh yeah,
What
tell
did
this
what did
story.
he get fired for? We know a guy when we were in high school. He was doing really well and fucking got really good grades. He ended up going to.
I got fired for immaturity.
Well, he ended up going to a really good college.
story of
and
my
then
life.
got a badass job, making a lot of money. He got fired for immaturity. He was like at this new job or wherever the fuck it was, and he was throwing shit at another coworker, and like a tour was coming. I don't know what the fuck happened, and he got fired for it. Bitched and cried, and complained. Got rehired, and then quit and went and worked for his dad.
Oh man.
What a bitch! That's fucked up, dude.
Must be nice to know somebody.
Yeah, yeah. It's all about who you know. Aaron, you need to start doing something really, really positive so I can start feeding off of you.
I'm too busy making bad decisions.
What? You need to stop taking.
You need a
off.
GoFundMe page.
You need
I
a
do.
GoFundMe page.
I don't
Support-
want to work. Give me money.
Give me.
No,
That's
no.
what it amounts to.
Give me money for my bad decisions.
There are some cases on the GoFundMe
Yeah,
shit
like-
where I thought it was really cool.
You should get
Not
one.
many
You
of
should
them.
get it and somehow get it like right next to the dying child or something, and be
Yeah.
like, I need money for booze and weed and bad decisions. And people will be like, what the fuck's wrong with you? But you know somebody's gonna be like, fuck yeah, dude, I'll give you some cash. And just gives you like $10.
Dude,
That works right
That would
now
almost-
in Las Vegas. There are people right now, I bet, sitting with signs that say, "I fucked my life up. Give me money." And people are like, "Ah!"
dude,
You do that laugh.
we should almost do that as an experiment. Like,
oh man,
not come up with any bullshit. You just make it really straightforward and make a GoFundMe page and just see if like
yeah, but the
anyone
thing
will
with all
give
that
us
is you
money.
need to get publicity. You need to go out there and hustle it.
Oh, you just post on a couple forums.
I need drinking money.
Yeah, you know there would be like
This
that
is gonna
one
be
guy.
A great meme. Give me $5.
You know there would be that one guy that's like, this guy made a page because he needs to drink. Let this man drink.
Yeah.
Throws like $100 into it.
$100. That'd be
$100
great.
bucks.
There'd be that guy.
I think the most I ever gave a stranger was like 50 cents, and she was a stripper.
Hey, what's the most I've
Must not
ever?
have been a very good stripper.
No,
50
because
cents.
everybody, I was at a strip club, and everybody around this, area. I was 19. We went to Rock on the Range. It was my cousin and some other friend. He was a fat guy, and he had a girlfriend that was like a cyber relationship in Hawaii. He was pathetic, and we were at the strip club, and this is the first time I had ever really been to one. People are throwing dollars up there, and she's getting all excited and happy. I'm like, that's fucking kind of cool. So I threw 50 cents up there just to see what would happen. Dude, it was like the DJ just fucking stopped the show, man. She just went, "Who the fuck threw this?" And looked at my fat friend and thought it was him. And he was like a door, and he'd thrown like $50 up there. Just whips it right at his fucking face. Bing, bing, bing. Stomps off and leaves. All the other guys that are sitting there like doing that money shuffle thing.
Dude,
They're all
I've always
mean
wanted to
mugging
do
him
that.
and fucking yelling at him, and I'm just dying laughing. It was him. I'm like, fuck you.
Jesus Christ.
But yeah, strippers don't like change.
I need at
Make our
least
own.
I need one moment in my life where I can make it rain.
Why? That's such a waste of money.
Oh, but it's so fucking cool.
I would get the money and make it rain in my apartment and then pick it back up. But,
I
Justin walks into the apartment. I'll make it rain, ho! And then,
Dude, that'd
I
be
gotta pay-
funny.
wait, I need this. I need this.
That's rent, motherfucker.
Yeah, hey, come on, take it easy.
Take it easy.
Make it rain a little bit. like
I've
a little
never
bit
been
of
to a
drizzle.
strip club.
Huh?
I've never been to a strip club.
They're overrated, man. What a goddamn tease.
Yeah, because most of them don't show coochie, do they?
No, a lot of them do. A lot of them you
do.
can go in there, and that's almost worse. You can go get
Why?
a straight up butt ass naked lap dance, and you are not allowed to touch them.
Is it stanky?
Sometimes.
Oh god.
Sometimes it is.
Have you been to a strip club?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it gets stanky. Sometimes it's whatever. It all
Dude.
depends. Anywhere you go in Detroit stinks. Anywhere you go in Pontiac and Flint fucking stinks. But you go to like
Does it stank
Columbus,
or does it stink?
it stinks.
It stanks.
Stank.
Now if you go to like Columbus, Ohio, That's
No better.
Of all-
no, I'm serious, dude.
You
They're legit.
Detroit sucks, but if you go to Columbus,
Yeah. I mean, I went down to
if you go to Gary, Indiana, like I mean,
Bisco's.
Uh,
No, we went to the one in it's Deja Vu in
Oh,
Detroit.
that's a clever name.
Dude, it's gross, dude. We
I
walked
bet
in
it's in
there
Detroit.
and it was like pregnant dancer night.
oh my god,
They have
I-
pregnant
of all the
Oh,
nights-
dude,
of all the
you can
nights
see
to go.
anything at a strip club. That's the
Ugh.
thing. There's no
Just
holds
can't
barred,
get your
dude.
dick sucked.
And that one, I'm sure you probably could have.
Yeah, I actually used to work with a chick that used to be a stripper. She was actually pretty hot.
She sucked dick.
She said her friends did.
Yeah, that's, yeah. My friends did. I was above all that. Yeah, my ass.
Sure.
Yeah. She told me some interesting stories. That's how she got pregnant.
Strip club?
Oh my god,
Ooh.
Yeah.
When we were in the moving business,
that's miserable.
when me and my other friend I used to work with in the moving business, he'd always, it was like winter time, and he had these wool cotton fucking pants he would always wear to keep warm, because the truck we were driving didn't have heat, and we decided to stop at a strip club, and he got a lap dance it was like super like stringy and
Oh,
scratchy, like an
no.
SOS pad, and the chick was trying to grind on him, but she'd stop, and she got all pissed off and left. And he told her that he went up to the bouncer guys. I paid for 2 dances, and he forced the chick to come in and rub on his fucking scratchy pants. She was so fucking mad.
Oh god.
Oh God.
Now, can you say like whatever you want to him?
No. Well, you
Damn
can. It all depends on how much money you're willing to give them. Like if you give her $10, you can say whatever the fuck you want.
Like
But
just
like if you're like, I just want a dance. Like my famous line is when I go in there, they all come up and they're super nice to you. And I go, I don't have any money, and then they get super fucking bitchy, and then like the next one will come and be like, oh yeah, I don't have any money, and then they leave, and then you just keep doing that, and then you're not usually in trouble. But as soon as you give them like a $5 bill or a $10 bill, now they're like up your fucking ass. And you can do and say whatever the fuck you want as long as you're not like fucking them or pulling your dick out.
oh man,
And I think with enough money,
it'd be fun.
You bought them.
Shouldn't you have to pull your dick out first and then fuck them?
It'd be fun.
You
Either
can finger
or.
them, maybe.
Not
It'd be
either or.
it'd be fun to see what you could get away with saying, not like in like a fucked up type
Remember
of
those
sense.
videos where the guy's talking shit?
Well,
to
that's what
porn
I'm talking
stars?
about. That's
you
what I
could
was thinking.
definitely do that.
That's what
You
I was
could definitely
thinking.
do that.
Want to lather some mayonnaise in between the crack of your
Oh, yeah,
ass.
you can definitely get away with it. But not if you go to like a prestigious strip club.
Oh, like gentlemen's club.
Yeah, there's a difference between a strip club and a
A
gentleman's club.
gentlemen's club.
Yeah, you can't get away with that. Anywhere that sells like fucking steak, you can't get away with that. But like
That's-
the
that's
chicken
where-
and rib
that's just-
shack.
That's Justin's standard.
Yeah.
You sell steak, you're a gentleman's club.
You're a gentleman's club.
You don't sell
You're
steak,
booed.
you're a fucking strip club.
I mean, it's the difference between serving R&R and Jack Daniels.
Man.
Oh, God.
I don't know if I could do it if I ever got one with a stanky scrussy, man. I've smelled some stanky scrussy and
You can tell them to go freshen up.
yeah,
You can say,
I don't know.
like when you go
The
up.
damage
and,
is done.
No, like when you go up to give money or whatever, you can say, please go freshen up first before my dances. And
Dude,
now you go and pamper her up, like put baby oil on it.
I remember this one chick that I was like really excited to sleep with at this party,
Oh, yeah.
and I got to it. I laid in the groundwork, and I got there, and I smelled the underloins, and I had to fucking get up and leave. I told her I was going to smoke a cigarette, and I went to sleep in a different bedroom.
Oh,
You've
man.
got a history of doing that to women.
Doing what?
Like working them up and then dropping them out. You're a fucking tease.
No, just a couple.
Yeah, and they
The other-
hate you for
that-
life.
That other one, that's because I was really... No, that other one, that's because I was conflicted. I had conflicting feelings.
But you worked that
I wasn't
other one
sure
up.
what head I was thinking with.
The two heads were in conflict.
Oh, it was bad. I
That
kind
was all the
I
time.
feel bad for this one because this wasn't like one night where I was like back and forth on her. This was like months.
Wasn't
And
this a deliberation over virginity too?
Yeah, I would have taken her virginity.
So-
This was over months, and
Yeah.
she didn't just want to have sex with me. She like liked me,
Mhm.
Yeah, you were
and
the one.
she talked to me all the time, and like I'd be like, maybe, like I'd kind of get into it, like maybe this would happen, and then part of it was her personality too. So like I'd try to like her, and sometimes I did, but then she'd be like kind of cunty. And then I'd like back off and like totally send the opposite vibe.
Mhm.
And then like a couple days later, I'd start talking to her again and flirt with her, and she'd like ask to come over, and I'd be like, okay, let's do it tomorrow night. And then like the next day, she'd be like, am I coming over? I'm like, no. One issue I have is I'm not good at hiding my feelings. Like I probably like the smart thing to do, since I was so on the fence, would have been to be just nice to her regardless, even if I had decided I didn't want to sleep with her. But because certain times I wouldn't want to sleep with her, I couldn't just still be polite. I had to I felt like I had to like shut her down to make her know that like I wasn't playing her.
Yeah.
So I was an asshole. She fucking hates me to this day.
People seem to mistake politeness for flirtation quite a bit, you know.
Yeah, and well,
they also mistake it when you're an asshole to them too.
I got in trouble at work a lot because I would just be nice, and
It's the same
maybe
way.
maybe I come
it,
off as flirty, and then all of a sudden, you know, I get vag pics and shit. I'm like, whoa, hey, I wasn't. What signal was I sending you? You know, not that one.
I said you did a really good job stocking the shelves today.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I was getting at. I'm like, you know, yeah, you're really nice, and like, it only took like 3 things like that, and then later, a couple hours later, I'm like, whoa, okay then.
Okay, so
I don't think.
how do we work?
gotta go take a shit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this was off work, but still, I never did it because she had. Here's how much of a mistrusting asshole I am. She had like 3 kids, and I'm like, I'm not getting dragged into this, so I shut her down
That's
immediately.
a legit concern.
I'm like, I'm not gonna be one of those.
Would have been different if it was one.
No, I still would have been like. I still would have been like.
Twins, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not raising somebody else's kid. No way. Nope. Because you never know. Like, I mean, I could have went over there and just had sex with her, but you never know what's gonna evolve from that. Because they're good at roping you in, and next thing you know, you're 50 feet off into the water when you thought you just want to tip your toes in the water. And
Oh yeah, I know. I
Would
jumped.
you
I
raise
jumped
another
straight
person's
into
kid?
that water every fucking time.
Would you raise somebody else's kid?
I have to really fucking like
What's
them.
like the cutoff age, like between
Oh.
0 to 10 that you would step in,
Oh, like
6,
5, I
3.
guess.
if they're
8.
older than this, I can't do it.
Well, no, because
Or
at a
if-
certain point, it's like, right? I mean, you're cemented. I mean, then would you be cool with them like calling you dad?
if the
Would
kid
you-
wasn't an asshole, maybe.
Oh, is it?
So
you'd always have that. Like,
actually,
you're not mine,
if I ever
At your fail-safe.
if I ever raise someone else's kid, I'd almost want them to be a little bit older, not have to go through that whole baby process again.
Like how old? Like 12?
Yeah, then you could maybe do
Yeah.
more of like a buddy thing rather than like I'm your new dad.
Yeah, but you
Oh,
still
I
gotta.
can understand that.
Because
Yeah,
you can
but-
play that. You can be
Yeah.
the just kind of like the role model or the.
The authority figure, but you don't have to dad them.
You don't have to replace something for them, you know.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good point.
If it's a newborn baby, like you're entering into that life.
Well,
You're basically
well,
gonna
yeah.
be their father.
They're gonna grow up, you know,
You're
attaching that.
you are the dad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they project those feelings on you.
Well, you basically are at that point.
Right.
You're the dad. You were there.
You
And
just
I'm
didn't
happy
shoot-
with-
You didn't shoot the missile.
I'm happy with my son. I'm not ready to take on another one.
So if you get like a girl
I'm happy
pregnant,
with my
you're gonna
son.
like not.
Oh, I'll never get another girl pregnant.
What?
I'll never get
Did
another
you get
girl
a
pregnant.
vasectomy?
No, I'm just saying it's never gonna fucking happen.
That's what you derive.
That's
out.
like-
I actually
Famous last words.
I actually
never get another girl pregnant. Now you're gonna get like 3 texts.
No, I've actually, I would I would totally
We need
get
to talk.
I would totally get a vasectomy.
Yeah, me too.
I would fucking
I'm
do
down.
it.
God damn, I wouldn't.
I'm down.
Why?
Because, man, I don't know. One day I might change my mind and want to have.
Well, yeah, it's different for
I'm
you.
on the fence. Like, if it happens, it happens.
Well, yeah, it's different for you. I've had a kid. I'm happy. I
love my kid.
I reproduced my loins. I have a wonderful kid. He's awesome. I don't need to go for seconds.
I have no interest in having children, so.
I was looking at Ancestry.com, and if I don't have a kid, there's no more of my life or my ancestry.
There's no more. There's no
It-
more Tuckers
it
once I
dies with me.
Have you ever had any scares with Chelsea?
I was never scared, but there's been times where she thought she
Well,
was.
that's just the term.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, a lot.
yeah. After like the first
Yeah.
one, I was like, "Oh fuck, dude," and then
I
it
feel
ended
like-
up being gas or something.
I feel
And then
like
the second one, it ended up being like a cramp, and after that, I'm like, "Fuck it, if it happens, it happens." You know.
I feel like
you know where they're at.
I feel like anyone who's dated someone over like 2 years, you've went through your fair share of scares because you get way too comfortable and you start going, "What if it's like Sunday if she's on top," or I'll pull out halfway through it. I'm being obnoxious now.
Or a couple days when the
No, you get way too like.
you start to push the envelope a little bit more and more.
Dude, it's
Yeah.
like it's like they always say, like about a bear or something. Like if a bear tastes human flesh, then it's got to be put down. It's the same thing with like sex. If you fuck something without a condom, it's like,
Yeah,
why ever go back? Like, well, this is real life, huh? Okay.
I've gotten a lot of heat for this statement, but I don't use condoms.
Yeah, and you also just said that there's no way you could have another kid.
I didn't say there's no way. I said it's not gonna happen.
You
I
don't
read that
wear condoms.
statistically.
My pull-out game is strong.
Yeah, well, I read that. I read somewhere that statistically, there's not much of a gain wearing condoms if you're and compared to pulling out. Like, probability of getting them pregnant isn't much
I don't.
better.
I personally, I don't think the issue with chicks getting pregnant.
But STDs is a different story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's what a condom really is about.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, if you're gonna be monogamous and fuck a whole bunch of people, I think
Well,
you
you
should
fucked
do
up-
society.
You fucked up already because you're cheating on whoever it is. You said you're not gonna cheat.
Oh no, not even if you're not in a relationship. You're just banging like a lot of one night stands.
Oh.
Like I think if that's your game, then you should definitely be wearing a condom. Like, just protect society at that point.
I'm gonna be completely honest.
Now, if I get herpes, I'm spreading it.
I'm gonna be completely
Or
honest.
HIV,
I think
everyone's
people getting pregnant unexpectedly, the issue isn't pulling out because at least I know when I need to fucking pull out. The issue is those few times where you're like, I'm gonna wait a second, or that one fucker's like, yeah, I pulled out. I don't think the issue is actually if you pull out when you should pull out. I don't think that's the issue. I think it's that one time where you're like, I'm gonna keep
You get a
going.
little overconfident.
Yeah, or you're like, oh, I can't pull out.
Oh,
it's too good.
Yeah, that's a bitch.
It's way different
I
feeling.
think birth control works pretty well though.
Yeah, it does.
I think it works really well.
There's a huge difference from pulling out and having to come on something versus just getting to let it go like a fire hydrant.
There's a huge difference in that, and it's much better to let it go like a fire hydrant. I
Yeah.
feel like that's like the actual like release valve. And then if you just shoot it into a fucking tip, it's like built up. and then it's
Podcast
a
number
slow
7.
ooze.
Pull out.
Well, that's the name of this one. Pull out. Don't watch.
Pull out or fire hydrant.
Okay, well, we can get back on track a little bit. Do you?
No, I
think-
like this.
No, listen, man. Do you think that one of the parents should be like a stay-at-home parent for the kid's sake? Do you think that ends up not necessarily as a feminist thing, like the woman should
Oh
stay
no,
home
like
and raise
one or the other.
one or the other, not just as like that, but like as the fact is it's healthier for the kid, or do you think it not really matters all that much?
No, if you can do it, because obviously there's a lot of factors that play as far as like having a parent that stays home. If you can do it, it's definitely better for the kid.
Do you think that there should be
The
something
hardest-
implemented towards kind of making that more possible?
Oh, like some sort of income or something?
Something like to where
Maybe.
the parent should absolutely be at home raising their own child.
Maybe. I haven't really
Yeah, but how does that
thought
work
it
with
through
single
my
parents,
head.
though, you know?
No, I haven't really thought it through my head, but I mean,
I think the more hands-on contact with your child is better in the long run.
oh,
for sure.
it definitely is. The
Right?
biggest issue I have with Braxton, other than the fact that I only have him half the week, is finding the fucking time to make money and see him
Right.
sucks. Because, like, right now, I'm working... After I get off work, I'm working another job almost every day. And past month or two, I've been getting home, like, an hour or two before he goes to bed, and that sucks. That really sucks. No, if you could have a parent stay... My uncle stays home. My aunt's, like, she was an anesthesiologist. Now she's something else. She works at Henry Ford. And my uncle, who's honestly one of the best mechanics I've ever seen, he stays home, and it looks like it works great.
Now, do you think after that, then, yeah, you should be required to go, like, after the child reaches a certain age of, like
18?
15 or 16? I wouldn't say 18. I mean, at the age where they could be left home alone responsibly. And I think to come up with an age.
Well,
on
it's not
that
even
would be-
about them being, like, watched. It's about just them having time with their parents.
Yeah, but don't you think, like, somebody once told me, and I can't remember where I'm pulling this quote from, but it made a lot of sense. It's like from
15 would make sense because that's when they start working, too.
Well, what this quote made a lot of sense to me. It's from the age they're born till about 10 years old. You're parenting. Like everything you say is actually like it has gravity to it. You're instilling certain values.
Another reason I can't
beliefs.
have kids.
Well, that's what they say is from like 0 to 10. You're instilling like
I'd be like
groundwork of
something
shit.
would go wrong. I'd be like, "Oh, you fucking cocksucker!" And then when there's wait, there's a kid in the other room. Shit.
But from like
They're gonna
10
go to school and
on.
say it.
But from
can't.
10 on, you're no longer raising the kid. Your kid is becoming a product of environment, and he's being raised by his friends as like a group.
Even outside of the parenting aspect, having a parent that's around,
Yeah,
regardless,
yeah.
is important.
It's tremendous.
Distant parents, and especially negligent.
My parents, my dad was an asshole, and he was always working, and my mom always worked. So,
Yeah.
no, if you could have a situation where one of the parents is around, there's definitely, I don't see any negatives to it.
Unless you hate your kid.
Yeah, well, that's a different type of issue.
Negligent parents and distant parents create the delinquent kids. You know, like I think hardcore discipline isn't good, but it's better than being.
I think hardcore discipline is definitely effective, but I don't think later on in life it serves that
See,
really great of a purpose.
one
other than
thing
being
I-
a pony when you're young.
They don't become free thinkers. You know, because you're
One thing I've noticed, and my kid's only 5, but you don't even, I don't even, see, now with his mom it's different. She's a lot more hardcore with the discipline. But there's a lot of factors going on there. I don't even have to be very hard on, I don't really have to discipline him because I spend so much time with him and I talk to him and I communicate with him. He doesn't really do shit that pisses me off or disappoints me. But he's also 5, so I'm talking about remedial shit at this point.
How is him just doing something and it pisses you off? Is that grounds for punishing him?
No. I'm talking about like doing
Disappointed.
something he shouldn't do
Yeah.
specifically,
Like
but
trying to stick his fingers in the light socket.
yeah, but
That's about what you're gonna do at 5, right?
we don't really have that issue because it's kind of like this unspoken mutual agreement because it's like we spend time with each other.
Do you think you're his
I
vacation
talk to him.
house?
No, I think I communicate with him really well. and it's not like it's not like he runs wild when he's with me either, because we actually have one thing I am kind of strict about is we have a pretty strict schedule on like what he does and when we do it and stuff like that. But it was just, he doesn't act up with me ever really at all. He's in therapy right now because he's throwing like huge temper tantrums with his mother or some crap apparently, and his mother's a piece of shit. She fucking tried to rope me into this therapy appointment, didn't tell me it was for therapy, and she got me in this room with his therapist.
Wow.
And she was like, so what are your thoughts on his temper tantrums? I'm like, what are you talking about?
Are you fucking kidding me, man?
Yeah, like they're trying to kind of pin it on me. And she's like, so what are your thoughts on his temper tantrums? I'm like, what fucking temper tantrums are you having?
Man, so it's your fault.
Yeah, kind of is what they're doing. And she's like, so what are your thoughts on his temper tantrum? I'm like, what fucking temper tantrums are you talking about? This is the most mild-mannered kid ever. Ever. She's like, well, what about, like, does he ever scream at you because he wants McDonald's? I'm like, we don't eat McDonald's.
Like, we eat steaks and greens at Dad's house.
He's like, so he doesn't throw temper tantrums with you? I was like, occasionally, like, if we don't do something that he really wants to do, he'll whine, but he's never threw a temper tantrum. Like, he'll pout sometimes. He'll make this pouty face if he wanted to do something and we don't do it, but he's never thrown a temper tantrum ever. And it like totally backfired on her because halfway through it she was like, so what are you doing differently? What are you doing? Why isn't he doing this stuff with you? And I wanted to be, because I'm not a fucking piece of shit, but I was like,
just drop the bomb and leave.
But I was like talking her through like what I do like daily, and you know what she ended up ending it with? She's like, well, that, you know, it actually kind of makes sense that he's not mannered at her house and he acts out because mothers are naturally the nurturers and fathers, they encompass the outside world and they show the expectations of society. I was like, that's the biggest load of bullshit I've ever fucking heard. Like, if you've seen me as I lay in his bed with him every night until he goes to sleep because he still has night terrors from being in the hospital. Like, and as far as like me being the object of like society, have you fucking seen me? Like,
you encompass all sorts of different aspects of society.
It was you know, that's the patriarchy right there.
Yeah.
If there's a patriarchy, that's the fucking patriarchy. Some father getting lumped into some. She didn't even care what I fucking had to say. We talked for an hour and then she backpedaled to her original argument in some backwards fucking way. That's the fucking patriarchy right there. There's nothing that grinds my gears more than when you hear someone say, the mother's the nurturer. No, parents are nurturers, and some of them choose not to be. It's that simple.
That's true. I could buy into that.
It's that simple. If you want to nurture your kid, you can be a nurturer. You just have to want to fucking do it.
Do you think that the father's more important or the mother's more important as far as like growing up? Like if say it splits up and the father dies or something, would you rather the father die or the mother die? Who do you think instills more onto the child?
You know what I think honestly?
I think the mother at the earlier ages.
You know what I think honestly? I think it has no fucking grounds on whether it's the mother or the father. I think it all depends completely on what the parent wants to be.
Yeah. Okay.
Completely.
I buy into that.
Completely. If you had a child that just came out of the womb and was laying on the ground and some dude picked it up and took care of it and nurtured it, what's the difference to that kid of that person being a father or mother? We instill that in them, you know, with the way our dynamic of how we do things. You know, we instill, this is mom, this is dad. As far as parenting goes, that's completely up to you how you want to do it. I mean, there's plenty of mothers that fucking suck at nurturing their children.
Yeah. Yeah, there's plenty of them.
I really think it's completely up to you on how you want to do it.
Now, if you were to say that, and then you get into like because don't you also kind of buy into where everybody should be able to do anything they want, as far as like drugs and everything goes? Nothing should be illegal.
Yeah.
Now, if you bought into that and then you have children, wouldn't that some some people right now do it illegally, fuck, just be getting fucked up all the time with their
Well,
kids.
I think Joe Rogan said it the best when someone brought that up to him. He's like, yeah, I think drugs should be decriminalized and they shouldn't be illegal, but at the same time, you're not going to put a 12-year-old in a car just because you think everyone should be able to drive cars.
Yeah. Well,
There's
drinking's legal. You don't hand your kid a
Yeah,
shot when
just
they're
because,
9 years
like,
old.
no, but
just because I
drinking
think
is
if
legal,
some-
but sometimes you get drunk when you're fucking got your kid there, and then you end up beating the fuck out of them.
whether or not you should
You do?
prohibit
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes I do.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
whether
Just
or
when it gets
not you
mouthy.
should prohibit people from being able to do things, I don't think it's the same as like having some sort of process like you're 8, can't smoke pot. Like that's different. I think.
I'm not talking
because you're
about,
talking about
the
maturity.
kid being able to do whatever they want. I'm talking about as a parent being able to do whatever you want. Because say you got like a fucking kid, but you're also a heroin junkie, and all you gotta do is go grab the fucking heroin. I know people do it now, but if you make it legal, wouldn't it be even easier to do that shit? And more
Yeah.
people would buy into it. Next
And
thing
you're-
you know, you got little babies growing up all fucked up because mom was a goddamn dope fiend.
And you're a shitty parent.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But why would you make? Wouldn't
People
that be
are-
making it way easier?
Here's the thing.
to do that.
If someone is a shitty parent because they're a heroin addict, they would have been a shitty parent without the heroin too.
Do you think so? You think
Yeah,
an addictive
I
personality correlates?
I
with being
do.
a shitty person?
I think if you cared so little about your child that you're gonna get fucked up on heroin while you had your child in the next room, you would have fucked up in some other way too.
Hey, that's wait a minute. That's begging the question a little bit.
What is?
That's cyclical reasoning, man.
What?
What you just said.
What I say?
You were like, so you think that someone who has addictive personality is a shitty person?
That's kind of what.
That's
he
literally
said.
what you just said.
That's kind of what he's saying, though.
I'm saying if you chose to do heroin while you have your
What if you were
5-year-old
doing heroin and then you got pregnant, now you got a kid, and it's not necessarily because they call it an addiction, right?
you stop doing heroin.
Not everybody can just stop doing heroin.
There are plenty
a lot
of
of
ways.
people
Well,
that don't
I
stop
tried it
doing
and I
heroin.
stopped immediately.
No, you do what you
tried
got.
it, didn't like it.
I'm not a fan.
Crack wasn't good either.
I personally don't buy into completely. I don't completely buy into the idea that when you're a drug addict, it's a chemical imbalance and it's totally out of your fucking control, and
Yeah, I
you
don't-
might as well just fucking get in the fetal position and deal with it. You can resolve that issue.
I don't buy that.
No,
either.
but a lot of people that end up having addictive personalities, I think a lot of the times it ends up correlating to them trying to suppress something that happened to them
Yeah,
when they were younger,
and
then it becomes a dependency.
you be a good
then-
person and you find some way to fix it, whether it's
I mean,
rehab
good
or
thing bad things
meditation
happen to
or
good people though too, man.
yeah, it does.
All the time, more often than not.
Yeah, it does, and that does whether drugs are legal or not legal.
Yeah, but as soon as you make it legal, I mean, I don't think that you should fucking have legal heroin. That sounds like a horrible fucking
I
step to take.
Personally, don't think we should have heroin. It's a synthetic. It's a synthetic, nasty drug. But I don't really want to tell someone that if they want to fuck their life up and shoot up heroin, I don't really want to. I'm not God. Why should I have the authority to
Yeah, but if
assume
you're
that they
watching
can't
it and all it
shoot
ends
shoot up?
creating is pain and sorrow for the motherfucker. I mean, even though it is
That's their life.
self fucking propelled, then you don't see any reason to try to.
Hey,
Well,
Hey,
Any-
we need to make this harder to fucking get addicted to. so
anything
more
I
people
do
don't it.
wrong in my life, and I do a lot of shitty things wrong, I never look out at people and be like, you should have created a rule that would have kept me from doing this.
Yeah, I don't
You know?
want a nanny state government telling me what to do.
I don't want a
No.
nanny state government either, but
A
I
go-
don't think you should have heroin be legal.
Well, do you think that someone should
Is
be
it
able
that
to-
heroin shouldn't be illegal, or we just shouldn't have heroin though?
Yeah,
I don't think we
that's-
should have heroin,
that's a
but
good
we already
point.
have heroin, and it's not that.
We
hard
have
to make
alcohol.
heroin. Yeah, and I don't think fucking. I mean, alcohol is kind of whatever it is. It's got tamer.
You think someone?
I don't know. Alcohol's fucked up.
Alcohol is extremely fucked up.
It,
and
I mean,
don't-
you look at some alcoholics, and I couldn't say they're any better than some heroin addicts.
No,
think
you
you should
can't.
be able to
Or
catapult 20 Big Macs in down your gullet every day and become.
What about-
that?
500
Doesn't really
pounds?
change your.
Look
your
at all the people
mentality.
hooked on antidepressants, and that's totally
That's not
legal.
psychoactive when you just decide you're gonna eat 20 fucking hamburgers.
I suppose not, but you're still destroying your body.
You can
Like,
still
I mean,
remain conscious and totally full functioning.
Look at
and
all the people on prescription
you shoot
drugs.
a fucking line, or you shoot fucking heroin. You're probably not gonna be able to drive a car.
No,
Here,
probably not.
here's the fucked up thing about heroin, though. Like, when you make that argument, heroin's not that different than certain opiates that are completely legal and over the counter. That people are hooked
It's
on.
the long-lasting effects though of heroin.
Heroin is a different compound of similar shit you can get over the counter all the time. You could go into your doctor and say that you have certain feelings towards anxiety, get a prescription, and if you really fucking want to, you can make heroin. Or you could just pop the pill and get nearly the same effect.
But
The
not
only,
for an
the only
extended
difference
Well,
the only difference is there's not a company making heroin.
yeah, there is.
There's not pharmaceutical companies making heroin,
Yes, there
dishing it out on the...
is.
Yeah, it comes in the form of pills.
Methadone.
Yeah, it comes in the form of pills, and it's
Uh,
controlled, and people make money off of it. And
But it's
it's
still heroin.
and
People
it's
get addicted to that shit.
totally not nearly as socially frowned upon down on being addicted to something like methadone or Xanax or Adderall as it is as being a heroin addict.
I don't know, man. Popping pills, I think, is actually almost worse because. then-
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's not socially. You're not attacked for doing it.
I think you are.
You could
fucking
you
he's
could
a pill
be-
popper.
Well,
Fuck
everybody
'em.
I know, like half
You-
the people at my work take antidepressants.
Yeah,
you-
but like,
you
half the
could-
people at your work
you
are
could
older,
walk
aren't they?
your child up in a
Take
sh-
antidepressants.
A lot. The ones that I know for sure that took pills were my age or younger.
Jesus
you
Christ.
could walk all
Right.
4 of your children up in some huge fucking stroller right up through Rite Aid to the pharmacy counter, get your prescription
Listen
of
to what other people
Xanax.
are getting.
Get your
even though you're not supposed to.
No, you can wheel your child up to a counter, get your prescription of Xanax with your children with you, and no one would bat a single fucking eye at you, and
Yeah.
you're taking a controlled substance.
But you drink
But
your six-pack of beer.
if
with your
you-
kid there,
But
you're
if
judged.
you walked
Well,
your
I mean-
child up to a drug dealer and bought a dime of heroin, you are totally off the
Yeah,
fucking
but
rails.
the difference is there. I mean, you get a prescription. You go through the legal steps. You get up there. You fucking say, okay, I am prescribed this for this, whether it's a shady doctor or not.
It's not even a shady doctor 90%
I'm just
of the
saying,
time.
whether
You
it's a
can
they
call...
have pill mills, motherfucker. They do exist.
Wait, when I was on antidepressants, if I lost my pills all the fucking time, all I had to do was call my doctor, be like, hey, I'm out. All right, prescription's at Rite Aid. Go there in an
Yeah,
hour.
and they give them to you, and they say, hey, take it by the recommended dosage. And if you decide to take more than the recommended dosage,
It's the same if heroin were legal. Hey, maybe you shouldn't do this, or only take a bump of heroin. But if you decide to do more, it's the same thing.
My point about the
So
Big
you get
Mac
addicted.
thing was okay. So it's not psychoactive, but like
It can be addictive.
yeah, and the detriment against your health is terrible. But I don't think it's my right to say that this is bad. This should not be other people. I have absolutely the right to say I'm not doing it because it's unhealthy. But do I have the right to tell another individual you can't do that?
I think you can.
No,
Well,
I don't think so.
In a society,
Well,
you
then-
kind of have to.
What's the study? They
Because
did?
then you could go, okay, this guy decides he wants to kill people. Well,
That's
it's
not
not,
the same-
my
it's
right
not
to
the
say
same
he
as
can't
doing
kill
the same
drugs.
thing.
It
If you
is,
kill
though.
someone, you're canceling out somebody else's rights completely.
Do you think it's against? Do you think that okay, since you want to go that route, do you think then you can tell people that you can't smoke indoors?
No.
Do you think that should be taken away?
they do that anyway?
I know they do that, but they also make heroin illegal. So do you think that you should be able to smoke indoors
I think
at a
being
restaurant?
I think it should be, in my
One-
opinion, for that particular issue.
And go
it
back
should
to
be-
the way they had it with a smoking section and
It should be
non-smoking
up to
section?
the establishment. Is my idea. And if you can't, like, if you and people, I had an argument with somebody at work, not an argument, a discussion, somebody at work about this a couple weeks ago, and he's like, "Well, that's more for the employees," and I'm like, "Well, don't work there." You know.
I mean, it's, once you start crossing a fucking line like that, I mean, then everything's gonna be legal. And I don't think everything should be legal. I really don't, because yeah, with alcohol, I mean, at least there's tests to find out if you're doing it. I mean, there's establishments you can go to, like a bar, and they serve you alcohol, and 9 times out of 10 they don't, but they're supposed to cut you off at a certain point if they notice you're getting too fucked up.
I've never. just
I
as
have
a
never
side note,
been stopped
I've
being
never been
served.
cut off,
I've never.
ever.
I've seen people, but they gotta do some fucked up shit. And I mean, I've knocked beers over and shit at the fucking bar, and they brought me a new one.
Yeah,
And I was fucking hammered.
And the more drunk I get, the louder I am, and I've never
Yeah,
been cut
never,
off.
never. But they're supposed to say if you're fucked up, stumbling out, no, you can't go driving. You get a taxi, or fuck you, no, blah 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 blah. Now, I think if you could do the same thing for weed. If you make weed legal, you could have like a fucking weed cafe that you go to after work and fucking sit there and smoke weed. I'm sure they probably have that now at fucking medical dispensaries. They got some kind of shit like that. But when it comes down to like cocaine, I don't think everybody needs to be running out whacked out of their fucking mind.
We're cutting you off. You had 4 bumps, all right? Now
Yeah,
you gotta
I don't
take
think
it easy.
people need to be running around smoking PCP, seeing little fucking crazy shit, beating the fucking, tearing their goddamn clothes off. I don't think you should be fucking taking bath salts and running around, and God only knows if you're gonna get fucking violent at any time.
Well, you can get you can get completely violent drinking alcohol.
That's
though.
what I'm saying. But at least there's a spots and shit where you can stop that. I mean, it's the likelihood of you getting crazy off alcohol versus getting crazy off PCP are vastly fucking different. It's not even the same ball game. PCP is extremely psychoactive. Alcohol,
Do you
it's
think
a
that
depressant.
somebody? Do you think that an adult of sound mind in their own home should not be allowed to do whatever they want?
I don't
with
think
their
there's
own
such
body?
thing as an adult of sound mind. I think that's a made up fucking concept.
Do you think that someone who has agency, who makes choices, okay, according to the law, they're now an adult, they're over 18, they're in their own household, they're not allowed, you don't think they should be allowed to do what they want with their own body?
You are allowed to do whatever you want in your own household.
No, you're not.
Yeah, you are, technically.
You
Because
can't do heroin in your own
You
house.
can, because without reasonable cause, they can't enter your premise. If someone's knocking on my door, say
It's
there's
still-
a cop knocking on my door, I don't have to
If
answer.
Big Brother was watching us right now, they'd see that we're doing it, there's a crime in progress, they'd have probable cause. I'm just saying as a what-if scenario.
As a what if scenario, no, I don't think you should be allowed to be bumping fucking heroin in your fucking house. I don't believe you should be smoking fucking PCP. I don't think you should.
I think
be
the
fucking
idiots that
snorting
want to do heroin, we should fucking hand it to them and ship them
Oh,
off.
so
to
now
an
you
island.
want to do like the old Detroit saying where you fucking give everybody 40s and fucking guns and you clean up the mess in the morning?
Jesus Christ.
That's a little bit different.
Not really. Let them go and let them kill themselves quicker. Then we can fucking get rid of this. It's Darwin theory.
I'm just what I'm saying.
They poison themselves. We don't even have to do it.
What I'm saying
It's
is,
trying to help people not commit a mass.
I don't
suicide.
I don't understand at all, epistemically, what it is about a government, any power, that should even consider the right to tell people what they should do to their bodies. I don't understand that in any way. I don't know when or why a government is perceived that way. It doesn't make any sense to me. I hold no like faith towards it. I didn't devote myself to it in any way. I don't understand it.
I think you should be able to do whatever you want to your body. I don't necessarily think you should do whatever you want that fucking totally inflicts your consciousness.
We do so much shit on a daily basis that does though, and it's just you don't think of it that way because it's not held in the same light. It doesn't hold the same perspective because
Alcohol affects your inhibitions and affects your decision making. Aside from not having hallucinations, what's the difference?
A lot.
Well, like what?
Well, because if it affects your motor
alcohol
skills and
destroys
driving,
families.
and heroin doesn't. I would say
Well, my
heroin
argument-
destroys more families than
What I'm saying,
fucking alcohol.
I'm
'cause
saying
at least I can
alcohol
go get
destroys
alcohol.
families.
If
But
I
we're
go to
fine.
the fucking dope man, I gotta fucking have money, and I end up stealing my mom's fucking shit.
You wouldn't have
and
you
sell
wouldn't
it.
have a dope man if heroin was legal.
No, but I still gotta come up with money, and I think heroin.
you gotta come up with money to buy alcohol.
I think heroin's a lot more addictive, and I think people will go to a lot more extreme measures to get heroin than alcohol.
You have
And I feel like it's
Because
easier.
it's illegal.
And alcohol's cheap. You can
Heroin's
go buy
cheap.
Not that cheap.
you can buy a dime for $10.
Well, I guess the same thing would apply with alcohol. That's not a very good point I was going to make. Because the point I was going to make is I mean, that's not.
And it's a lot safer to acquire alcohol than heroin.
Well,
because-
that's what he's
because it's
saying. If you
legal.
make it legal, if you make heroin legal, then it's going to be safe to get both. This is.
Well, and you don't think if we made
But it's not
certain
safe
drugs legal,
have
it
people
would.
running around on fucking heroin.
It's not safe
But-
for people to run around drinking.
But
though.
here's the
People
thing:
don't.
if you
People do
do you
all the
really
It's
time.
illegal to drink in public.
well do you
You think
really
it should
think
be-
do you really think
You
if
think
we made
public
heroin
intoxication should be
do you,
legal?
do you really think
No, if heroin was legal, we're not going to say go ahead and drive.
there'd be
But
right
then that's fucking going against everything you're saying.
no, because they
No.
still have the they still no.
Yeah.
No.
See, it
What's the difference if I'm in my car or if I'm in my house? Shouldn't I be able to drink a beer?
What's the dip? There's a big difference.
No, I'm
You-
in my car. I'm in my house. You shouldn't be able to tell me
you
what
would
to
at
do.
least be able to legally do it somewhere. You would have an
shouldn't be
avenue.
legally
If
doing it
heroin-
anyway.
If heroin no, you shouldn't morally be doing it
no
or
legally you
ethically
shouldn't be.
doing it.
You
Legally,
fucking shit up.
there's no fucking reason why anyone should be able to tell you why you shouldn't legally be ingesting something. Morally, that's a different thing. Totally. And if heroin was legal, there it's not like it would just be like, all right, leave alcohol regulations the same. Heroin's legal, just no, it'd be fucking it
Go
would
ahead
be
and drive.
it'd be similar to the way we established our regulations for alcohol use.
Shoot up heroin.
It-
I want
it-
to buy a gun. Okay.
It'd be
I
it'd be
mean, At least
correlative.
with fucking alcohol, man, you can be a functioning alcoholic. I'm not
could be a
saying you
functioning
can't
drug
be
addict.
a fucking functioning drug addict, but god damn it, I feel like that's a lot.
That's
fucking
not
harder
up to
achieve.
us to keep someone from destroying their lives.
I don't think it's up to us to fucking enable it either.
It's not enabling it.
It is. That is 100% enabling.
I
it.
Making it legal is not enabling
I know,
it.
yes.
No,
it
I
is.
don't. I don't agree. I think making it legal, it opens up your responsibility to make the right choice. And if you choose to have heroin, you made the wrong choice. But our point isn't that heroin usage per se is good or bad. It's just saying that you should have the ability to do so without somebody arresting you, just for making a bad moral choice. You know. I don't see a good argument for that. And then you can go to practical reasons why it's wrong. The drug war. Any kind of prohibition just sends money to the black market and to criminal enterprise. You know, if it was legal, the cartel wouldn't have any money. Where are they going to make money? I guess they could sell guns.
No,
you know, and that's a
I
whole
just
other
read
thing.
something about marijuana, and the cartel actually started growing avocados and made more money off avocados than marijuana for a quarter.
Because avocados are delicious.
Well, no, I think it's because marijuana
Because
became
they have
legal.
like the highest like consolidated like nutritional value of like
it's-
any food.
Yeah, but
Huge.
arguably marijuana would make you more money, but because
Oh, marijuana's cheap.
not really, not as cheap as it was when I
It's
started
way
smoking.
easier to grow than avocados. Avocados have to.
I don't
ripen
know. I think
for
in
like-
Mexico it'd probably be the same
they
thing.
have to ripen
you
for
could-
like
you
2
could-
years.
Shit in your closet and plant a marijuana seed, and you'd have a plant in a few months.
Yeah, and if you're in Mexico, I feel like you could have an avocado tree pretty simply.
Yeah, I guess that's where that's the
So in
climate.
Mexico, it's
but
it's
an
no bearing difference.
An avocado has to like ripen on the vine for like 1 or 2 years each.
Not if it's genetically modified.
Are we gonna get into that now?
We
too?
can.
That's another thing.
You can GMO the shit out of shit.
Well,
Fucking,
I want genetically modified heroin. Is what I want.
well, it's already genetically modified because it's a synthetic. It's not a real. It's not a heroin plant where you can go get heroin, like cocaine.
I'm gonna grow
You
my
can't
heroin.
even really get cocaine out of a cocoa plant. It's a main ingredient, but you have to cut it.
I'm
with
gonna
something
grow
for
my
it to
heroin
be in it.
plant. I just
Now you can probably do genetically modified psilocybin mushrooms.
Why would you want
That'd be
to?
I'm
interesting.
just saying, why would you want to eat a fucking genetically modified corn? But you do anyway.
I agree with you.
I'm just saying. It's
You know my
possible.
position on
It's
that.
possible is all I'm getting at.
Yeah. I'm not really sure what I see where you're getting at. I don't know where you're getting at is going.
I'm just saying, like, you can fucking. He was saying, like, it would be harder to grow avocados.
Yeah, that's right.
And I said, not if you genetically modify it. You can pump avocados out like they're fucking nothing. Just bam.
Maybe. Genetic modification isn't that easy, and it's different with every plant that they do
No,
it with.
but once you get it, man, it's not hard to perfect. I mean,
Depends on the
They
opinion.
do it
of-
with a lot of shit.
that depends whether it's the opinion of the consumer or the person producing it. That was a fun one. I haven't talked about legalizing drugs in a long time. I usually stay away from that one just because I feel it's a little overplayed.
I feel like it's fucking.
I
I
know.
don't know.
Oh, that's why she's ignoring me.
You always say I'm the one that wants to set the world on fire, but I think you're.
I don't want to set the world on
want to
fire.
watch
I
the
just-
world fucking burn.
No.
Okay, Joker.
I'm just saying. Fucking, I honestly think that we should just give everybody heroin and just let them have at it.
It's not
See what
giving
they do.
people heroin.
Now, you did
It's
say
giving
that
people the option. I was being inflammatory.
Fucking, just let them kill themselves. We'll clean up the mess
I also
tomorrow.
think it produces the prison industrial complex.
Yeah.
So you don't
Mandatory
think
minimum-
anybody should go to prison?
What?
Only
Actually,
you-
that's a really
only you
good
can
question.
Extract that from what I
No,
just said.
That's actually, and I'm not sure if you've ever read about this. That's a question I'd like to ask because I've never talked to anyone about it outside of the philosophy department. The prison industrial complex is an interesting one, but that's a little bit more mainstream. What do you actually think about like punitive forms of punishment?
Is this your segue into Michel Foucault's?
No,
book?
this is what is her name? It's
Can't hear me.
that's
My
actually
bad.
that
The panopticon.
you can draw some stuff from that. That's more of the idea of panopticism is just really kind of more of like an observation towards a certain way of handling things. That's not even really necessarily talking about like all punitive forms of punishment. It's just talking about this sort of. It's not even talking about punishment, really. It's just talking about this huge amount of access to information and all-seeing sorts of omnipresent types of authority.
Big Brother.
But what I wanted to bring up is, what the fuck is her name? Because I really should drop her name. It's like Abigail, or I've read like 4 or 5 things from her. But there are people. There's kind of 3, and then blending areas. 3 main positions. There's our current like retributive punitive system. There's a lot of gray area with all these guys talking about like restorative practices towards how we punish and imprison and our punishment system. And then there's abolitionists coming up with theories on how and why we should just eliminate the prison system completely.
What would you do if you eliminate the prison system?
I was waiting for your response to that.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? So now you can commit any crime that you want.
No, it's not. There's
can-
not punishment. There's not punitive punishment.
So what is okay? Explain to me what punitive means.
Punitive is basically imprisoning someone.
Yeah, but what's the difference between punitive punishment and punishment? Where's the line?
You're saying you're not seeing a difference between
No, I'm not sure what the word punitive means. What's the definition of punitive?
when people refer to punitive practices, they're talking about a prison system. They're talking about you do a crime, you get sentenced, you go into a cell for a certain amount of time.
Okay, so it's the difference between doing time or like corporal punishment where you're
These-
caught stealing orange, I take a finger.
Well, I've never heard an abolitionist bring up like delimbing someone as an alternative form of
They
punishment.
do that now in the Middle East, don't they?
Well, I'm talking about these certain types of arguments. What I'm saying is
Or death.
there are some
Execution.
there
on
are
site.
people that are making arguments that the prison system should be abolished and a completely different form of punishment should be erected, whether it's some sort of service or something like that. I mean, I would start like going on, but really it
My response to that would be
your imagination you can lead to. I mean, the list for these alternative forms of punishment
is
just
huge,
goes on.
I'm sure. But my response to abolishing prison completely would be, well, what about the like the supermax types, like the
Yeah,
really
the killers.
vicious killers, the cannibals, and the John Wayne Gacy's of the world or the Bin Ladens of the world. Like, if we don't kill them, I'm not saying one way or another about whether execution's good. That's a different discussion. But like,
No, you're right.
I don't think these people. There's certain people that I'm willing to say are beyond.
Well, let me get this
Rehabilitation
clear. Are
and
we
need to
talking
be
like you're not
separated.
allowed to be tried anymore either?
No, there'd be
Like, you know,
trial.
you still
But
have a
they
judicial
also-
system where
That's
you go
another
through the
thing
motions
about
and-
it. They the trial system. They another really popular argument for the abolitionists is talk about community-based trials, not like
What
a
does that
judicial
mean?
system.
like everybody votes.
There's a community
More than 12 people.
like say you have a community board of people living within that area. If someone in that respected area commits a crime, that community board goes in and makes the decision. Not
But isn't that why the judicial system was created in the first place, to avoid that? Because then you're basically doing a witch hunt. You're form a mob mentality when a bunch of people are standing there and you're just like, this man murdered and fucking raped my wife or whatever the fuck you're saying, and then everybody's, but you're on a witch hunt.
One thing I would say in defense of the judicial system is
I like
They're
the
not-
12 or the
I
12
won't
jurors.
say that they're impartial, but they're. I would say in general they're a lot closer to having an objective look
I
at
agree.
it as opposed to a community based.
I haven't really said which side I favor with.
Right. I figured
Yeah.
you. Yeah. I'm not assuming you were
Yeah.
taking their side. I was just giving my
Yeah.
response to somebody that would say that they like the community based judgment.
On an off note, just while it's on my mind, another paper I read, which I'll send to you, it's actually really interesting. This is more of, he's not an abolitionist. This guy's more of a restorative guy, talking about, he talks about what needs to be restored for the judicial and then the punitive system, and then he talks about how to restore it, and a lot of what he talks about is like sentence times and stuff like that, which I'll send you because I think you'll like that one.
Now is the whole reason we're having this conversation, because we're believing that
I was
serving time does not work.
I think it'd be better.
It's not an effective.
The
Go
main
ahead.
the overall, like the main reason is the prison industrial complex, which sparked why I wanted to bring it up. But then also there's a lot of people that are starting to feel that retributive types of punishment
Yeah.
aren't really it's not really achieving what it's supposed to achieve. It's just more of kind of like, well, he gets what he gets.
Vengeance.
Yeah.
Do you think
And
we should start having more
I've-
like a special ed class for criminals?
I just wanted to ask you guys,
Where we
because
spend more time with them?
I've literally never had this
Why
conversation.
did you cut somebody's head off?
I've literally never had this conversation with anyone outside of my department, so I've never heard anyone's opinion on it.
I mean, I think at least me and Chase can strongly or safely say that the community-based judgment system, I think there'd be way
Now-
too many flaws.
What do you think about some restorative measures towards
That's how you
the
get the Soviet Union type thing.
Yeah.
Do you think there's some sort of restorative measures towards the judicial system that I think we could all probably agree on the judicial system? Probably
People get fucked
needs-
for
No
sure,
good,
but I don't
yeah.
think
Ne-
it's more
needs-
people get
it,
fucked than not.
it needs, yeah, but what I'm asking is, does it need some sort of restorative measures to be taken to kind of,
Make it more pure.
or just kind of maybe like flatten out some of the wrinkled ends on it, especially because I think we're seeing it now more than ever with the government, in a lot of areas with our government, as we've been around longer and longer, the way we establish things way back aren't really, they're not really coexisting with the way the world is now. So, but what I'm saying is, do you think that there's some restorative measures that should be taken with the judicial system? And then what I really want to know your thoughts on, do you guys think there are any restorative measures that need to be taken with like our penile system at all?
I think the way I think of it, like to use like an analogy, is like we're curing the symptoms and not the disease. Like I think crime itself that's the problem, and there's obviously a gigantic amount of X factors that cause crime, but I think all these X factors are really important. Like we talked about parenting, poverty, where they are, their environment,
Okay.
their education.
Let
I
me
think
try
there's
and-
lots of things that kind of lead up to.
Let me
criminal
try and
lifestyle.
narrow it down even a little bit more to try and invoke a certain conversation. What do you think about the prison system? And when I talk about this, not the prison system in as far as what laws create what crimes and stuff like that, but the prison system as a foundation, like what it does, how it does it, and like regarding the idea of the prison system and like the sentencing.
Well, I would say that with the recidivism rate as it is, that it's not fulfilling its function of returning people
Do you
to
think there's
society.
do you think there's any better, like maybe not an alternative, but like an adjustment?
I feel like until you've been to prison and you've actually experienced it, I feel like it'd be really hard for me to answer it on like an outside perspective, because you have what the penal system's supposed to do and what they say they do, and then you have people that get released from prisons that talk about their own experiences and how it did not help them. As far as the penal system goes, I think a lot of the things that they do have on their agenda to get done, I think they're plausible, and I think they really probably could work. I also think, though, as in like you could go back to school. If a bunch of kids get sent to detention, you're stuck in a room with a bunch of people that got sent into detention, and you're all gonna collaborate because you're just gonna be little shitheads together, right? And then I don't necessarily think taking people who broke laws is effective to stick them with other people that broke laws, and they're just going to feed off of that as kind of like a badge of honor.
There's people that do minor crimes that go to these things
And
and,
then-
become better criminals because
Well,
they're surrounded by
that
criminals.
was my next question.
I think it might be better, but impossible, mind you, not to do a solitary confinement thing, but like a reintegration program right off the bat,
That's actually one thing that paper I was gonna
to where
send you. He talks about is
you
a
go
reintegration
to a
program.
fucking like a place where you're still in prison technically, but you're in a society and you're given merits and you're given
like
you're
almost
built
like a
up.
halfway house. For
Yeah, but
prisoners.
you're built up as you go. Like, oh, you didn't steal for 2 weeks. Guess what? Now fucking you get people are gonna start leaving shit out. Oh, and if you don't take that shit, then guess what? You're working towards getting out of here. You're doing really well, something
Yeah.
like that. But I think when you go to prison now, dude, there's so much you got to pay attention to. There's race wars that can break out, so you got to. It's almost designed for you. From what I've talked to people, and I don't know, I've never been to prison, and I feel like I'm kind of talking out of my ass on this one, because there's a lot of people that have been to prison, and a lot of people seem to have different stories. But for the most part, it all boils down to being designed to make you a worse person while you're in there.
Okay, well, that was going to kind of be my next question. Do you think, regardless of what original intentions and purposes were, we already brought up the prison industrial complex, which I'm trying to not like go into that because that's a huge can that we could probably open on a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
Especially if we got the chance to, if I got some videos for you to watch before we did it too. But you think the penal system as a system has become kind of like a rotisserie thing,
Yeah.
not focusing on its objective, maybe focusing.
It's definitely a rinse
Um,
wash, and it oftentimes leads to
It's a
repeat.
it's a business, and they
I think that's the biggest issue we're seeing today
You
with a
think
lot of
privately
forms of
owned?
government and the way we. Actually, I write a lot of arguments on why privately owned prisons might be better, and I'm almost leaning a little bit towards that more than a government-based prison, just for the sake of they can be held a little bit more accountable.
I think privately owned prisons are worse because I think they aren't held as accountable and they can lie.
Well, it would
And
take a lot
nobody
more.
gives a fuck about a prisoner. You're not in
It would-
there. If you complain about being in prison as a society, that's a good thing for people that aren't in prison.
that goes back to what Aaron mentioned earlier about that need for retribution
Revenge, and
is
you need
a
to suffer
cultural
while
thing
you're
that
in
we
there,
need
yeah.
to alleviate ourselves of.
I don't think that's ever gonna.
Like, I think correcting behavior correcting bad behavior is more important than punishment. You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, if in an ideal world, if you could correct any behavior, why would you even want? Would there be any necessity in punishing someone?
there wouldn't be.
That's kind of what I think.
Because they'd be like, "Oh, I fucked up."
I
and
think
then
that's
they
an important
stop.
thing to realize too. I mean, obviously that can't happen, but I think that's an important thing to just to keep you humble to remember. Like, if you could correct this, why would you punish it?
Yeah.
Punish it.
Yeah,
So
but
the
then you're
the
gonna
correction's
create a
the goal.
perfect world.
You kind of get into this really bad downward spiral if you start thinking about doing things to people purely for like retribution versus like correction. I think
Yeah.
that's kind of a problem
Yeah,
too.
because once you get, because revenge, you could expand your need for revenge to anything, and it's never. It's
Well, and you get a little bit blindsided on the goal
yeah,
too.
it's a hunger that never goes away. You know.
I'm not saying it doesn't, but I don't think like retribution and like correction in this sense always correlate to, doing the same thing. I think a lot of times now we see how they conflict. Yeah, we should do something on this topic. I'll send you guys some stuff. So it gets really wacky. There's a lot of stuff that people said. Some of them are really good. Some of them are really out there. And
I mean, do you think that the penile system is flawed, or do you think the people that found the loopholes in the penile system is what's fucking it up?
well, I mean, I personally think there's a prison industrial complex, just like I think there's a military industrial complex, and I think it's flawed, and I think there's people finding loopholes in it too, and obviously you probably can never totally wash out people abusing all loopholes completely, but I think in this case, particular as far as the penile system, it's massively flawed and definitely needs like some sort of amendments made towards how it's conducted and used. I don't think it should be eliminated. I was kind of saving my opinion. I don't think it should be eliminated. I'm more of in the restorative areas of that argument.
Pull upon the foundation and fix the holes.
Yeah, and I'll probably send
some
the essay to you too. The one guy I really like made some really good arguments, and a lot of it had to do with making amends towards fixing things during sentencing rather than like in the prisoning process. Because if you're trying to fix like someone once they're in prison, or a lot of the things we do now is we fix like reentry. We'll focus on like reentry stuff, like once someone's out, like how to get their life back together. That's like a lot of the progressive stuff now as far as like some sort of rehabilitative purpose towards a prisoner going back into normal life. And this guy makes this argument: why are we focusing on trying to help a prisoner come back into normal life? He's already been to prison. The damage has been done. Why aren't we focusing on like some sort of like practices we could do to maybe avoid as many people going to prison and having to enter a reentry program?
Yeah, exactly.
And there are things, and he brings up things that you can do, and some of those most compelling arguments are towards like sentencing times and stuff.
So we should reinstate lobotomies. Ice pick lobotomies for the people who keep breaking the laws.
I think
you just give them a quick.
I think
tap,
personally,
they're good to go. You reintroduce them into society.
I think personally, our sentencing procedures are bullshit. I think our sentencing times are bullshit. You know what you can actually do
You don't think that's there to scare you away though from doing it?
What you can actually do is you can look up each state and the way judges operate is depending on what state you are. It's a different list, but there's set amounts of crimes, and over some sort of time, there's the average sentencing time that has been. It's like a census on sentencing times, and that's what most judges base it off of. And within that, like especially when you get into some different types of crimes, the sentencing gap can be like 10 to 20 years. And that's the threshold that judges have to base their sentencing times off of. Judges can't just be like, 70 years for this.
That's
No, there is
probably a good thing.
there's some sort of base, yeah, except for when like when these averages that they're basing themselves off of is like a 10 to 20 year difference, or in some cases.
Yeah, but a lot of
like,
times, like
they have full range to choose between whether you get a 15-year sentence or a 30-year sentence, which is a huge
those
fucking
really only
difference.
apply to felonies, though, not misdemeanors. A lot of
Yeah, well, that's
misdemeanors
another
you can
thing.
get
Look
off
at-
with just a fine.
Look at what a lot
Yeah,
of look
injure
at.
slash kill a worker in a work area. You can be fined up to 5,000 plus fucking 20 years in prison.
That's true too.
all.
but
Work,
then there's
all fines double in work zones.
That's true too, but then also look at what certain crimes count as felonies too, which is fucking ridiculous.
I don't think so, man. I think all the fucking felonies are kind of legit.
I don't know why I'm laughing.
They're all pretty goddamn bad.
just the way you say that. I don't know, man.
I don't know. I could
I mean,
bring-
what felony do you disagree with the most? What's
Murder.
so outrageous? I think you should be able to fucking murder.
well, what it is
Rape.
when you start comparing certain charges to other
Just
charges.
kidding, fuckers.
Apples to apples.
Well, it's all the criminal system.
So
it's
you're
all
saying that somebody who was caught distributing marijuana should not be
Charged with a
charged with somebody who is also convicted of murder, first degree murder. You should not both be held accountable to 25 to life.
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay. Now, what about
then-
somebody who's selling heroin?
I think it should be
Legally
the,
or consciously distributing a drug that is there to ruin somebody's life.
you know what I think?
See, you're leading
I know.
the question there.
I'm just saying
It's a
that's what
fallacy.
you're doing.
I know, but
Send us in the list of fallacies first.
I know, but we played that game the last time, and we spent a lot of time talking about like
Detecting fallacies.
yeah.
It's there though. I'm not the only one.
Well,
So when did you know you
most-
you like to kill people?
most drug charges, I would say it should be the same across the board. When you get into marijuana, it's a little bit weird because marijuana is a little bit different than any other drug
Yeah.
in a lot of ways,
I honestly don't
scientifically
believe
in
it
a
should
lot
be
of ways.
considered-
But
an
if you're
illegal
talking
drug.
about pretty much any other drug across the board, I think the sentencing rate should be the same. I don't think you should get more. I think it's bullshit that you get a higher sentencing time for how much crack you have versus if you had coke.
Yeah,
That's
doesn't make-
bullshit.
That doesn't make
That-
You don't
that
think
is
coke
absolute-
and crack correlate together?
You can double the quantity in crack from coke.
Yeah.
If you have a kilo of crack, it was originally half that in coke. Why do people who get crack who get charged with like possession of crack cocaine charges get like twice the sentencing rate? I mean, I have my opinion towards it, but
Either
why?
way you look at it, it's still fucking illegal, and you shouldn't be having it.
Yeah, it's true.
So stop
but
fucking doing crack and do something with your life.
yeah, I agree.
Or
I
go to
agree.
prison.
I agree, but why? I agree, but why is it so fucking inconsistent?
Yeah,
And I think
that
there,
doesn't make any
I think
sense.
I think there's systematic reasoning for it.
Yeah, but you still agree that it's a felony. But you're saying you don't want it to be a felony.
No, I'm saying that
They should be able to.
I'm saying that the
smoke crack all
sentence.
day
I'm saying the sentencing rates
not
need
have
to
any
be.
repercussions.
I'm saying sentencing rates need to be much more consistent.
Yeah.
It
and
is, though,
maybe a
for the
little bit
goddamn
logical,
crime that you
too.
break. Maybe you should fucking pay attention before you break a crime.
And maybe a little bit logical. Just because one drug is predominantly more a white collar drug, I don't think it should have less of a sentencing
And there's
rate than.
more times than not, especially now, you're not going to prison for marijuana unless you have a fuck ton of it.
Really?
Really, really. I know a lot of people that get caught.
How
with
many
fucking
articles
weed
do you
right
see
now.
a day of
Fuck
people
them,
like
and that's
this
all
guy's been in
goddamn
prison
bait.
for 15 years
That's
for
clickbait.
having.
There's certain cases, but there's
That's
not
false
enough.
news.
No, there's certain cases, but that's not nearly enough to even create a fucking percentage of what we're talking about.
Well, that's an
I
argument.
know
of,
way more people that I've seen in real life who have gotten written tickets
that's
and
an-
misdemeanors.
That's an argument
and,
of.
Oh, fuck you. The worst I ever saw was my friend that lived across the hall from me. He got pulled over and he had an ounce of weed on him. He had a court date set. What they made him do was they made him do community service. That was it. He had to do jams.
That's that's an argument.
That's
of
not fucking the worst thing ever. That's not going to prison. That's not a felony. That's not. Now, if he would have gotten caught with a kilo of cocaine, I personally think he should have went to prison.
That's an argument of relative significance because you're saying not everyone gets charged like that, but some people do. Let's say that some people's 20%. When does that percentage then become relevant?
Okay, say
Does
somebody
it-
gets caught with an ounce of weed and a
Why
handgun.
is anyone getting charged differently for the same crime at all?
Nobody's really getting charged different with the same
Well,
crime. It's different additives to the same crime that build a case.
We have a
It's
disagreement
different
on
backgrounds. Okay, so
No,
if I
not
get
really.
caught with an ounce of weed, but I have priors for fucking
geographic
heroin use,
locality
I'm
plays a
obviously
role
not
in it.
sticking to the fucking script, man.
What I'm saying is,
Now, if this is my first offense and I get caught with an ounce of weed, they're going to be a little more lax with me.
I'm not talking about that. What I'm saying
I
is,
don't
why
see what
is
you're saying.
why? So
State to state.
we both agreed that at the very least, some of these rates are different. You say it as more of an exception. I'm saying the number might be a little bit higher than that.
I was saying that for marijuana.
Okay, well, let's keep it on that. Does it matter if it's even an exception? Or should it just not be happening at all?
Getting in legal trouble.
That's
for
where
marijuana?
it's a argument of relative significance. You're saying, well, it's only happening like 5% of the time, so why are we worrying about
No,
it?
and the reason those
the way
keep
I see
coming up
it
in order
is-
to get 15 years is that was all happening during the heat of the war on drugs.
No, that
and
stuff
once you're
happens
caught,
now.
and once no, it does not.
Yeah, it does.
No, not even fucking close.
Well,
Not
I
for
can't
marijuana.
I can't take it much further if
No,
you're gonna
it-
say it doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen like that. Not for like an ounce.
I can't take it much
Now, if
further.
you're getting caught trying to, especially in Michigan where you don't have a medical card and you're really trying to distribute a lot, then yeah, maybe.
I can't
Or
take
if
the
you're-
argument much further
you
if you're gonna
can't.
say it doesn't happen.
It doesn't. You don't get 15 years anymore for pot, unless you've
What's
really
the amount
fucked
you
up.
need to have to warrant an arrest in the state of Michigan?
Anything.
No, that's not
Any?
any.
You can get
It's
arrested
a
for any.
misdemeanor.
I've been arrested for having a bowl.
Not now though. The laws are constantly
5
changing
years
on
ago.
it. I know that's a long fucking time.
Yeah, you could get
You know
arrested.
how goddamn
If
far
you
it
couldn't
came?
get arrested for carrying around a bowl pack of weed, do you not think more people would be walking around with? Of course, you can get arrested for having a.
Not now.
Yes,
No.
I thought there was a certain
It's
amount
changed.
that.
They've
there's a
changed
certain
it.
amount where it becomes a higher charge.
Okay, you might be able to get arrested,
Hmm.
but I don't necessarily
There-
think
there's-
that's the only reason they're
There's
arresting you.
there's amount where it passes from a misdemeanor to a felony,
Okay, that must be what I'm thinking of then.
and that's like an ounce, I think, when it comes to weed.
It's I can't remember. Yeah, somewhere in there in nature. What?
Nothing.
I do think weed should be legal. I'm 100%.
That's not
on
what
your
I was
side.
arguing.
I kind of.
No,
That's
I'm
kind of
not-
exactly what you are arguing.
No, in the previous
Everything
one,
should be legal. Has been your
In-
whole
in the
argument through
previous
whole fucking
argument,
conversation.
this argument was about inconsistency in our country's sentencing rates and sentencing times.
Oh, so you think everybody should get? If you're caught with a fucking gram of weed, you should get fined
I think-
this much, no matter what.
Yeah,
Kind of like the littering
I don't
law.
think-
If you get caught littering, you get paid $500.
yeah. I don't think some guys should get off with a slap on the wrist. Some guys, which you think says doesn't happen, get.
I think
put away
repeat
for 10
offenders
years.
should definitely get fucking hit harder.
I'm not talking
You
about
keep
how
breaking
hard they
the
get
fucking
hit.
law.
I'm not talking about how hard they get hit right now. I'm
Do you
saying
think there
it
should be
I'm talking about consistency.
Would a scale be more appropriate for you if you were like, okay, first time offenders, you pay this much. Second time offenders, okay, you do this plus jail time. Third time offenders, now you're in the big leagues, motherfucker. You keep fucking up.
Whatever it is, whether
Is
it's
that what
that,
you want?
what I'm saying is whatever the punishment is, I think it should be
And
consistent.
I don't think that's necessarily anything to do with the fucking penal or judicial system. I think that's
absolutely
a lot
is.
with the
It's
fucking
their,
loopholes
it's the
we were
conduct.
talking about earlier. With lawyers, they find loopholes. They make secret fucking deals with judges. They fucking got dirt on whatever Judge Assadorian.
You don't think it's partially a systematic issue too of
No.
like we
Yeah,
crack
it's
down on
partly.
certain drugs for certain reasons, or
I think you should always crack down hard on heroin, man, and crack and fucking meth and PCP. You
What I'm
should
saying
always
is-
hit that hard. Get that shit away.
What I'm saying is it's not consistent.
But how long have we been doing that, and it's not resolving the problem?
No, and that's not to say that we're not making.
If you're going to approach drugs, wouldn't you
They're not making the problem worse purposely.
To pivot the argument in a different direction, like, wouldn't you think that arguing it from like an education and a health standpoint would be more effective? Because we've had a war on drugs since Nixon, and people are still doing heroin. It's not.
Well, we've approached it with an educational. We've had
effective.
DARE.
That's true.
And that has.
But, okay, well,
minimal
I'm just
effects.
saying that having mandatory sentencing and arbitrary sentencing for drugs and crackdowns and militarization of the police has not been effective. If anything, I guess
It's sure the fuck's stopping me from any inkling.
I guess
of doing
it's
any
not
of that
stopping
shit.
a lot of fucking people though. And
Yeah, but then
here's me
again,
being the conspiracy theorist, but the police are looking like they're invading fucking Poland with all their gear. I think drugs is just a scapegoat for government power. Just like every fucking other thing.
That's
else.
what I was kind of trying to get at with the inconsistency.
Yeah,
thing.
it's the nanny state. We have to protect you from yourself. We're gonna protect and serve the fucking shit out of you. And then all of a sudden, the invading Poland APCs roll into your town. Police,
I
you
feel like
can't
they-
have that marijuana.
Yeah, but why? What's the gain from
Power.
doing that?
Money.
Power.
They don't invade anywhere than the ghettos.
How much fucking money?
There's-
What are they
The
gaining?
drug war in the ghetto
I
is
mean,
what
I-
caused them to have these freaking
That-
things.
Well,
that
what do you
and
gain out of
I know all of us have seen how much money has been made in the United States since over the drug war. It's fucking crazy. There's a shit ton of money in enforcing drug laws. In so many ways, even just in sentencing times alone, imprisonment, there's so much fucking money in having people sitting in a cell over something stupid. But then you can get into like the conspiracy shit too, like, and it's not even as much of a conspiracy. I mean, we know that when Clinton was governor, he was fucking running drugs and stuff. That's not even a conspiracy at this point. There's a shit ton of fucking money in us having a drug war.
The Clintons are a bunch of fucking criminals anyway.
Yeah. But are they, or are they just ones that like got a spotlight?
They got they got caught.
That's the thing I kind of wonder most of the time is are they the exception, or are they just the ones that are on the news?
Yeah, but you can only keep getting you can only keep getting your hand caught in the same cookie jar for so long.
Yeah, that's what
How
I'm...
many people don't get caught?
I know. I think that's actually part of the.
Do you
fucking
believe?
game.
Did you guys listen to the? Okay, let's go down the rabbit hole for a minute. Did you guys watch the Alex Jones JRE
Yeah.
with Eddie Bravo?
Oh, yeah.
Well, what do you think about the pedophile ring conspiracy?
I've not
believe in
read
it?
anything.
I
on it.
actually do buy into that a lot because I watch or listen to another podcast called Sword and Scale, and there's a famous case called the Johnny Gosch case. If you haven't heard about that, look that up. And the Johnny Gosch case, there was a missing child a child went missing. He was like 5 or 6 years old. His name was Johnny Gosch. He got taken away. The mother went to the police, was like, hey, he was on his paper route. He's missing. He's usually back by now. And it was also the first day his dad let him go on his own. So, the police guy or the sheriff was like, oh, well, we got to wait 24 hours. It's no problem. He's fine. He's just missing. She freaked out and rallied a whole bunch of other people up and went down to, like, the park to go, like, start, like, a manhunt for the child. And the cop came up and stopped everybody. She's out of her mind. She's crazy. Go back. And more time goes on. They still haven't found this kid. But I can't remember the fucking name of that guy. He was a politician in the 80s. But he ended up getting caught with a bunch of child pornography. And a lot of other kids ended up escaping this drug ring or this child ring where they've been selling kids to, like, Saudi Arabia and fucking shit. And they got...
I think that the sex trafficking
It is
thing
fucking
is
crazy.
a big. Well, I don't think it is. I know it is. It's a huge global problem, and
a lot of money can be
that's
made
the
from
number
that.
one. Would people like to? Okay, well, just
What
because
do you
all the,
what do you guys think specifically of like what they talked about on JRE's currently the pedophile ring? What do you guys think?
I think
on
it
that?
still exists.
Well, the cases that are happening because they made a lot of
definitely
claims
covered up.
as far as like it's pretty big within our current politicians, and it's happening right now, and it's happening quite a lot. And they brought up a lot of the Pizzagate stories and stuff, or at least the stuff that was originally kind of associated with
I
it.
haven't
Like those
seen
emails with Obama that they were talking
the
about.
code words and everything.
Yeah, I don't know how much of any of that shit you can believe though.
It's
That's
hard when
kinda
you hear
to
Alex
grasp.
Jones because he will literally just make shit up.
Yeah.
Well,
But
it's entertainment news.
I wouldn't be surprised.
You can't.
I'll leave it with this. I haven't read anything on it at all. At all. I wouldn't be surprised, and if given like the information like that was said in that podcast were more true than false, I'd probably believe into it. I'm not well informed on that at
That's
all.
basically what I was gonna say. Is like I haven't seen the documents or the evidence, but I'm willing to.
If
I bet
even
it's
if-
probably true.
even
I
if
mean,
the shit that was said on that podcast ended up to be true, as far as like those are emails that exist and they weren't like bullshit emails that someone said they conjured up, and like all those instances he said were actual true instances, I'd be convinced that
did
that's
he
probably
claim that
true.
Julian Assange, that WikiLeaks leaked the emails or something?
Yeah, he did.
That's where he got it
I
from.
don't know how much of
I-
any of that you can buy though.
But he
man.
somehow got it earlier than everybody else.
Yeah.
So he's claimed Alex Jones claimed he had a contact in WikiLeaks or something that.
I don't
Now-
buy it.
But he always claims to have these sources. And
He's got
Yeah.
sources and people that feed him information, but he also just came out not that long ago and said everything he's been saying is a lie.
Yeah, that's also because he was in a custody case and they were attacking his like persona as part of like why he shouldn't have custody. So I think
being danger to his kid or something.
yeah. So I think at least who knows? I mean, maybe he could have been saying that,
And yeah,
or
everything I said
he could have
everything
been.
I said about saying everything was
Or-
a lie was a lie.
And yet it's
Or
okay
he
for
could've-
Westboro Baptist Church to have kids. That's okay.
Or either he could have been saying that and it's true, or he could have, when he said that could have been true, that it's all bullshit, or he could have been saying that because, done the whole entertainer thing. I'm an entertainer.
Yeah.
Because he was in a custody case. Now, when it comes to Julian Assange, and this is a little bit more like intuition, a little bit because it's so hard now. I tend to think he's just as credible as a lot of like news reports that are released, especially with his track record. He has a
I
pretty
don't
good.
fucking believe anything.
He has a
anymore.
pretty fucking good track record so
It's
far.
hard to know what to
super
believe.
hard to believe.
No, it is.
Anything that
You have to
anybody says.
You
I
kind
don't-
of have to stay in like a continuous frame of skepticism.
And I feel
This is a prominent theme on my other podcast.
But-
truth in news and what you
I
can
feel like
believe and
everything's
can't
got
But-
to be embellished because if it's not, you're not making money because nobody cares.
But personally, I think Julian Assange has a pretty good track record, and I have no reason to believe him any less than any other news outlet.
follow the money. You know?
I personally think Joe Rogan Experience is a fucking better news outlet than anything I could find.
Yeah, but he's reporting a lot of that stuff. Like a lot
That's
of
like
times
what
he's like reporting.
Yeah,
like,
but I
some
feel
shit
like
that
he actually
Julian
tries
Assange.
to get to the fucking bottom of it.
Well,
more
do
than
you remember-
I think he does, but I don't think he's any better at researching than me or anything.
The latest one that Dr. Peterson was on, they talked about how Joe Rogan hyped up Peterson's big, repertoire or whatever right now, but then he said, well, what about you? Like he has like what, 1 million subscribers on YouTube
Yeah.
or something, and he's like, how many downloads? And they ended up concurring that it was like 12 billion a year. It's like,
Yeah.
are you the most important interviewer on the planet? And it was just silent for like 10 seconds because like the mainstream media is not competing with that. Like
No,
not
I-
even close. 12
now
billion
more than
downloads.
ever, early Joe Rogan Experience was kind of wishy-washy because he was still really fucking deep into this conspiracy hole, and he
didn't know what he was.
believed it. He got caught up in believing
went
a
for
lot of
fun.
wacky shit. Now he's a lot better, and now I think a lot of the times he does have really good, credible information, and I think it's well researched, and you can take that better than a lot of stuff. But still, even then, I mean, he's just a guy too. It's really just like we have trouble. Like if you're reading something, I don't know if that's fucking true. I'd have to read like 4 other things.
Well, he doesn't. He also
And-
he's biased in certain things, but
Yeah.
he doesn't claim to not be either.
No,
You know?
well, I'm just saying, like, you know, like the issue we have where we could read something and it could be really convincing and seem like it's good information. And you know, we talk to each other about it, and then, you know, 2 months later, it's like, oh, that was actually falsified bullshit. Same stuff can and does happen with him too. I do think he's really good though. I think they do a good job of like really kind of staying researched on the shit now. Everyone gives him shit for Jamie and the way he operates Jamie on that show, but I think the way he operates Jamie on that show is awesome. He always goes out of his way to double check shit. Some people say it's biased, but
I think Rogan's biased in certain.
oh, he's
things.
definitely
Overall.
biased.
Like, I mean,
He's a
like,
fucking human. Though.
him, and it's
You're
true.
gonna be
Well, that's what I'm
biased no matter
saying,
who
you
you
know.
are.
But like, I mean, he never claimed to not be, and
He's
like,
definitely biased. At least you can see through it though.
yeah.
And he does still have people with countering opinions and stuff. So you
like him and Steven Crowder, you know, just
Yeah.
shouting
Yeah.
about marijuana, like that. They can talk about the most fucked up shit, and then all of a sudden, marijuana is what triggers the.
yeah, but at least you knew what each position was,
Yeah.
and like it was clear and
Yeah,
concise.
but he's fucking Rogan does that, man. He pushes the envelope, and the envelope doesn't need to be pushed.
That guy,
he doesn't want to talk about it.
I
I'm
still-
fucking gonna talk about it. Marijuana. I don't care either way. Well, no, marijuana.
Well,
is
I still
a
stand
whole
by
podcast that could have been talked about.
I
A whole
still
bunch of other
stand-
shit.
by my original opinion with that incident. That guy brought up that article and that claim about marijuana and driving, and then Joe Rogan wanted to counter it and talk about it, and he's like, no, you're trying to get away. You already made the claim. It's already there on the table. You can't say something that someone else thinks that they can talk about and counter, and then be like, oh, I don't care about marijuana.
Yeah, but that could have been an
And
earlier
then,
claim.
You know,
though,
people like how Steven Crowder was like, well, you have Jamie and stuff. It's like, we're reading your article. I had Jamie pull up your article. It's his article that he had Jamie pull up. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like I have like you have a handgun and I have a rocket launcher. He was reading that guy's article. Why the fuck
Well,
wouldn't you do that? I would do that.
Crowder's kind of a weirdo anyway, you know.
He's
But-
young.
Now Joe Rogan calling
What'd
him
you
a
say?
He's young.
now Joe Rogan calling him a fuckface and shit. Like, I wouldn't have done. I wouldn't have done that. I thought it was funny to watch.
I thought
But,
it was
like-
kind of hard though, man, because he wasn't into it.
No, I thought it was
There
kind
was
of
no like banter.
Well-
it was like
well. The cynical
God
part of
damn.
me wanted.
I wouldn't want to talk to him either if I was like, dude.
Well,
I
the
don't
cynical
wanna-
part of me was like, yes, he called him a fuckface because he made such an outrageous claim with like no shit, and it was published, and he threw it out in there, and then didn't want to talk about it. As far as like respectable like retort, that was shitty. But as far as like,
And just because it's funny.
but as far as like wanting to address that claim, that makes sense. I would have wanted to address that claim. Whenever someone makes a bullshit claim with me, you know, I want to address it. And then as far as like him pulling up the guy's article, I don't see any issue with that either. I would pull up the article because you want to be like, see, you did say it. You said this.
Mhm.
I mean,
I don't see the bad. I don't see anything wrong with anything up to that point. I just, even from before they started talking about it, fucking, he didn't want to talk about it.
but he
I
brought.
don't care.
He
He
but he
straight
made
up in the
comments.
beginning of
He
it-
made comments
In the straight up beginning, before he even had, well, let's talk about marijuana. He straight up said, "I don't care if it's legal or not. I don't really have an opinion."
yeah,
about
but
it."
but it's so
Well,
easy.
what about marijuana? I don't have a fucking opinion about it. But and then he made him say something about it, and then just started like,
Yeah,
fucking,
but he brought
Yeah.
Steven Crowder's article that clearly dictated his
Well,
opinion.
yo,
of it.
that
And he didn't want
comment-
to talk about it
well,
maybe because
that-
he wasn't fucking well
well,
rehearsed
that-
in what he wanted to say about
that-
it in the first place.
That comment got
you kind of fucked him.
I think it's fair game to.
that
I
comment.
think it's fair game.
That comment
If I don't
got
wanna
brought
talk
up
about it,
because
I'm not
Steven
talking about
Crowder made that claim that, well, you know, driving accidents in Colorado have exponentially raised since they legalized marijuana. And then that's when it started because Joe Rogan was like, wait, whoa. Just because someone's smoking weed doesn't mean that's why they got in the accident. Does your source even say that it's because they were smoking weed? Or does it just say accidents have risen since it's been legalized? And that's how they got down that rabbit hole. I mean, it's so easy to be like, I don't have a bone to pick on this issue, but then like throw out like kind of a passive comment about it.
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I guess.
And then same thing with the.
I don't know. It just didn't sound very fucking professional.
Same-
Either of them's fucking.
Same
just
thing
keep
with
going at
the
it.
Graham and Shermer podcast. I really liked that they got into it about Shermer's article and the shit that they said about Graham. I like that they got into it and they dug into it. Yeah, it got emotional. I like that they dug into that and like talked about it
I
because
don't like the fact
that
that
was-
Rogan kept fucking shutting down the other guy and allowing Graham a pass on fucking everything.
I think he needed to get a
He
pass because he was the
fucking-
guy that
Dude,
they had all these
he
claims
was doing what I'm
about.
doing to you, constantly over talking him. And he'd
No,
be
that's
like, no,
true.
Shermer, shut up. Graham has something to say. And then as soon as Shermer would start saying, Graham would start over talking to me. He wouldn't say shit to Graham, and then it'd be Graham's turn to talk again, and Shermer would be like, oh, no, Shermer, shut the fuck up. Graham has something to say.
That's true.
And I was like, dude, you can't.
That's
you can't
true.
do that.
That's true.
Now you go to the other
In
guy,
defense-
and he was sitting there talking with the other guy. That was fucking badass. They're talking about icebergs and
That's
fucking
true.
shit shifting
In
and
defense,
taking out
I think-
planes.
In defense, I would say
Fucking shit shifting.
In defense, I would say they were trying to give Graham an avenue to actually address these claims because Graham, over the period of his career, has been just totally fucking
I know,
ridiculed
man, but
so
you
many
can't invite
times.
somebody else on there too, and then just
Well, that
treat
was
them like
Michael
dog
Shermer's
shit.
idea for that podcast,
I know,
too.
but you can't treat him like dog shit.
I don't think he
You're
treated
both
him
on
like
the same
dog
fucking
shit. It's
level.
just
You
Michael
kinda did.
Michael Shermer likes to make like wide sweeping claims and then like end it there, and they wanted to address it because he'd like make 4 claims like, well, this is bullshit, this bullshit. I don't know why you think these people could have existed like this, and then be like, and then my argument is this,
But everything.
and they'd be like,
that-
okay, wait, back the fuck up. You said that like 4 things are bullshit, and you didn't say why they're bullshit. Because like what irritates me with Michael Shermer, which is why I was excited for this podcast, because I noticed it in the other 2 podcasts he has him on, is he'll be like, this isn't true, and this isn't true, this is actually what it is, but he won't say like why this isn't fucking true. Like he won't expand on anything. He won't actually counter it. He'll just say what the countering claim is, which is really irritating because I'm personally a skeptic, but like he really comes off as like a shitty skeptic, like someone that's just constantly skeptical all the time. Like, oh, that's kind of a wacky idea. That's bullshit. This is what it actually is. It's like, well, why is it fucking bullshit? Come on. I'm interested. Tell me. I just, that's what I think.
I like it.
I loved that podcast because,
I
and you got
Are
to
you
see,
skeptical about pulling out?
no,
You know?
You are no skeptic about that.
I love that
You're skeptical
podcast
about condoms.
because that's the first time I've ever got to hear like Graham actually like argue his point of views rather than him write a piece and then like
Goddamn, though,
read a
man,
bunch of
lot
people
that
shitting on
shit-
it for him being like a pseudo.
I
whatever.
have a copy of Fingerprints of the Gods.
Yeah, but a lot of
I
that
haven't
shit
started
that
reading it
fucking
yet,
he
though.
was
I love
getting
that book.
argued about
I don't
was
believe
stupid.
a lot of it, but I love that book.
A lot of that shit they were arguing about was stupid, though. It all came down to like
I
really
thought
stupid.
That was
fucking
really.
claims.
I thought it was interesting.
You said this. No, I wrote it in my book about somebody who
Well-
said something. I didn't adopt his whole theory. I adopted this one thing that he said, and I put it in my book. But I have no claim to what he said. Then why the fuck did you put it in your book,
Well,
bitch?
that's what it's.
Well, no,
see-
that has nothing. That has no bearing. I didn't say that. He said that, and I took it from a snippet of something I totally disagree with. But I like 3 words he said, so it's in my book.
Maybe that's just me
Huh.
because like
Fuck you.
of being a philosophy major. But you,
Stupid fucking.
when you read philosophy, like modern philosophy now, it's chock full of that, and you constantly have to be aware of like, okay, he's quoting Hunt's argument on this, and he's not attacking adaptationism in this way. He's attacking the adaptative byproduct of black swans in this certain case, and like it's all angles, like, you know, it's all angles. It's like, this is what this guy said, and I don't necessarily have a bone to pick with this, or I don't disagree with this, but I don't think it's this case and this is why, and then I'm going to quote Crick from 1962 who said this, and this is why I think it backs this up. It's just it's all over the place.
All he did, from what it sounds like, I haven't read his book, but it just sounds like he connected a bunch of dots from a bunch of different people's own fucking work, and then created a book about it, and then hid behind the claim
Yeah, but
that
that's
if
what-
you're going to attack it,
That's what
I
all
can't
historians
take claim
do.
to anything that they said, but I can only take claim that I took bits and pieces of everything they said and put it together.
Well, that's what all historians do.
Yeah, I mean, there's no there. What do
But you
define
gotta
as
fucking
truth?
take some kind of responsibility for writing it in there. And just because the guy says, "Well, you say this here," no, I didn't say that. He
Well,
said
no,
that.
what
That's
happened
kind of a
was-
bullshit veil.
What
dude.
happened was,
I mean, come on,
and
man.
he actually, and they actually said this, and it was the big one was Shermer's writer said, and Graham believes this, and he's like tainting the minds of people. And what Graham was saying is, I didn't actually say I believe this. I even said before I said this that I don't hold any like commitment to it. But this guy, whoever wrote this book, said this, and it's an interesting point to bring up, which is a big fucking
And then
difference.
out of everything, and it got all the way to the end of the podcast, and it came down to the nitty shitty, and it got to the bottom, and it was that last sentence that I don't even remember exactly what it said, but Graham's feelings were hurt. And you need to take that out of there because that's false. You hurt his feelings.
That's what it's like.
That was the whole fucking build-up. His feelings got hurt because somebody formed an opinion about him.
no,
that just wasn't true.
they inform an opinion
Get the
about
fuck
him.
outta
They
here.
they represented his writing in a completely different context.
You changed a little bit of a word, and it's fucking.
No,
he did believe it if he wrote it.
by changing.
It's easy to assume
by-
he believes it if he writes it.
No,
Yes.
no, not
Yes.
at all.
Fuck yeah.
I could pull up a paper right now where the first half of it is completely the other person's argument, and then it kicks into the writer's
As
argument.
long as you
You know-
quote it from the other person.
That's what he did, though. That's what he was
Still,
doing.
you still put it in there as part of its supporting argument.
No,
That's all he did.
you're
was take
establishing a
footnotes
basis
of
for
it.
what you're talking about.
Yes, because it's a supporting.
No, it's not
Your
always
claim.
supporting your claim. Sometimes you're bringing
Why would you put it in your book if it ain't supporting your
to
claim?
argue it or to make an
But they
example
weren't
or to
arguing
draw
what he was
attention.
talking about.
What happened was the writer, Shermer's writer, is like, this is what Graham Norton said, and this is what he believes. And what actually happened was Graham Norton was like, this is what this guy said, and then it was something like, this is interesting. This draws to this point, which I think is this. And those are two very different things.
I don't know, man. It just all seemed kind of stupid to me.
Well, it gets complicated like that,
It all
especially
just seemed
when
like
you're
it was-
talking.
Because even at the very end, the guy's like, listen, I'm sorry that I misrepresented you in all these different ways. Okay, it was just a big misunderstanding, I guess.
Well, I think he
And
had
then
to.
Graham didn't even fucking... Yeah, you did, so you better fix it.
Yeah.
Snide, dude. That's fucking dumb. That's all he wanted was the whole time was his feelings got hurt. He was crying
not-
the whole fucking
It's not
time.
just his feelings got hurt though.
The work that he did got
The
hurt.
the work that they came
got
there to talk
criticized.
about.
A lot, man.
He came there to talk. They came there to talk about his work, and the guy that came there to argue him about his work
Classic case
was-
of constructive bullyism.
was. It's not constructive bullyism. That's just misrepresenting someone's work. You can't have a straightforward argument about anything if this guy's saying, "This is what you said." It's like, no, that's not what I said. That's not going to get anywhere. I mean, at the very least, whether they agree or disagree on the issue, they both need to be like clear on like what each person said.
But at the
Right?
end of the day, the other guy did disagree
He
with
disagreed.
the belief system of Hancock.
Yeah, he disagreed with him when he left. All he said was, "Yeah, we need to change that article."
And then they shut the other guy off and brought on the meteorology. It wasn't even a meteorology. He was measuring. What the fuck was he measuring? Something to do with meteors or something.
Randall Carlson.
No, the
There
second
was
guy they
there was
brought
a-
on.
The guy that they
the
called.
phone call guy.
Okay.
Both
He
those
popped
guys,
on and he
both
was-
those guys were planned calls.
Yeah, I know, but what was he talking about?
he was talking about the impact theory, and his theory
There
is
was
that
a way that he could prove that celestial or intelligent beings other than ourselves landed here.
no, he was proving that there.
Aliens.
No, he wasn't talking about aliens at all. He was saying that
He's talking
that
about
terrestrial impacts were terrestrial doesn't mean aliens.
Kinda.
No, terrestrial could mean a rock,
It's a foreign object.
which is what he was talking about.
Terrestrial
theory-
beings is what he was trying to relate it to.
No, he was talking about asteroids.
And that life could have been on the asteroids because he was measuring
No.
the fucking thing from the asteroid.
No, he was measuring the composite of the asteroid. That's how they were proving that it was an asteroid that hit. Because the elements within that area weren't consistent
He
with
was
the
talking
elements
about
everywhere else.
Fucking aliens, I swear.
Oh, he's talking about
You're
asteroids.
Kind
just
of.
fucking around.
No, he was on there. I swear to God, he said something about fucking
You
aliens.
sound like
He
you're
said
just fucking
the word
around.
terrestrial.
And
That doesn't mean aliens.
And yeah, it means a.
I know it's like an unidentified.
No,
flying
it means
object.
something not of planet Earth.
Yeah,
Literally, that.
foreign to this planet.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
It
and he
doesn't have to
also
be an
was trying to
alien.
get at
No, he was.
terrestrial life forms.
Let me break it down really simple. He was. Randall Carlson's theory is impact theory, that some sort of impact, which he claims are meteors, cause certain extinctions and geographic changes on specifically the United States. This guy was saying that he believes and they prove that there are significant asteroid impacts that happened that were significant enough that could potentially have made those changes that Randall Carlson was claiming.
Maybe I'm not intelligent enough to differentiate, but I swear to God, he was talking about fucking aliens.
That whole thing was about asteroids, dude.
I know, and fucking somehow life beings got brought up that were terrestrial.
Light beings.
Life beings.
Oh, I thought you said light beings.
Light being, they could be. I mean, I will not discriminate.
Interdimensional child molesting light beings.
Because the opening thing that the fucking guy was talking about had something to do with.
No, Glenn
Yes, it
Tepe.
did. Not no. I'm talking about the asteroid guy.
They didn't talk about aliens at all, dude.
The opening thing he was talking about, he was measuring something.
Yeah, he was measuring the composition
No,
of those
not the
asteroids.
composition. Something else that came off the asteroid.
Yeah,
That
Rock.
was
The materials.
no, it was like a radiation thing that came off of it.
yeah, that would still be the materials.
But he related it to possibly being another life form.
Radiation.
No, because it's weird because it only pops up in certain areas. I remember that part.
Yeah, because it was a really unlikely composition.
Yeah, which was. No, fuck it.
It was an alien spaceship.
That's what, right? I mean,
Is
come
that
on.
what you're trying to say?
I think that's what he was trying to get at. Was it was like an alien in technology
No, he said he
because
was.
it was such an unusual combination of
It-
shit that should never. Fucking
Yeah,
be together.
like something that maybe burst from like a fucking planet or something.
that was
with some
inhabited with something else.
No, just some like unlikely combination of elements or alloy that you wouldn't find in Minnesota or wherever. That was just really unlikely. That who knows? Maybe you find it in really rare places on the planet. Maybe you don't find it on the planet at all in that combination. It was an extremely unlikely combination of composite materials that arguably leads to someone to conclude asteroidal impact.
And aliens.
No ETs.
The possibility of extraterrestrial life forms.
All right, you think we should wrap this up?
Yeah.
It's about 9 o'clock now already.
Okay. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Have fun processing that shit.
That was an interesting